In this episode, we're joined by Mark Walker, co-owner of Trews Fishery Exeter, a strategy officer for the Exeter District Angling Association. He's also a well-travelled angling and small boat enthusiast. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and remember to subscribe to the podcast. Let's dive in.
Welcome to another episode of the Tuna Gear podcast. I'm Andy. Sat next to me is Danny with the ultimate trousers on. I don't know if you can see them. He looks like somewhere between Cypress Hill and the circus, to be honest with you. But you look good, mate. You really do look good.
Thank you, Andrew. That's very kind of you.
Today we've got Mark Walker with us, Trews Weir fisheries owner.
Trews Weir, one of four in Trews Weir fishery.
Okay, Exeter Angling
Association,
strategic.
Strategy officer. They were the words I was looking for. Yeah.
You can tell we do this on the fly, and you've obviously got your own boat as well.
I've got my own boat. Yeah.
So you're covering all disciplines of angling here, aren't you?
I'd like to think so. Yeah. I mean, I've pretty much fished for every species over the course of my life. Pretty much.
Always fished.
Always fished. I'm going to continue to do so. Been lucky enough to fish around the world as well. So we can talk about those.
Yeah, we can talk about all of that. So. Let's start with the fishery. Let's go in with that. How did you end up being, or what made you buy into a fishery?
Well, it was fortunate, really. I would say it was just circumstantial. I'd been involved with Trews Weir fishery. This is a really great story, really, as to how associations with people work. Because I was a member of the Exeter District Angling Association, and I used to fish the river.
Yeah.
And one evening, I was fishing the tidal legs, and I caught a carp. And behind me, a chap came behind me and said, "Oh," showed interest. "What have you got there?" And I knew the chap. It was a chap called Dr. Adrian Rogers, but he'd never fished before in his life. And he saw me catch this carp, and he saw me lay this carp out on the mat and look after it. Slip it back in.
Were you targeting carp?
Yeah.
Okay.
Slip it back into the water. And we ended up having a brief conversation. And during that conversation, he said, "I've just bought a fishery upstream of here, Trews Weir fishery." Well, Trews Weir was really quite well known. Had a lot of bream, a lot of carp.
Is it like a subsidiary of the X then? This flows into the X.
It is the main X. But
right,
you're talking now.
This is a section of the X which has its own name.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You're talking best part of 30 years ago now, when river fishing was really much better than it is now.
Yeah.
There were a lot of carp in the river. There were lots of bream. There were lots of other species too, including lots of big pike. And Trews Weir had always been private, reserved for salmon fishing. Whilst one or two people fished it, including me, bit
of guesting.
Well, yeah, a bit of private guesting, a bit what we touched upon before this. But Dr. Rogers said to me that he'd bought this fishery. He didn't know anything about it. Would I be interested in teaching him? So there was a little bit of a conflict there, really, because by the by, I'm an honest type of guy. Although I admit I've sneaked in the odd fishing spot occasionally.
That's bending the rules. There's nothing dishonest about that, I think.
But he placed me in a position. Along came this man who was entirely and utterly reasonable to me, very, very nice. Offered me the opportunity to help him out with this fishery, and I thought, and I sat there overnight and I cogitated it over, and I thought to myself, well, do you know what? There's only really one way to frame this, and that means I've got to be honest with him. So I rang him the next day and I went down and had a cup of coffee with him. And I said, well, look, I know a little bit more about your fishery. Then
then I let on to start with.
I said, in fact, I've been kicked off of it a couple of times by the previous owners. And he seemed to appreciate that.
People like honesty.
Yeah. And what then happened was that he offered me to run the fishery for him.
How big a section of river is this?
It's about 3 parts of a mile, Danny, isn't it? It's a reasonable bit of river, both banks.
If someone said to me, I say, oh, it's about a mile.
Yeah.
Is it like 2 weirs either end? Is that where it gets its name from? Or is it just from this mark to this mark, that's the fishery?
Yeah, I mean, you've got Trews Weir, which is just below the Port Royal in Exeter, and that runs to the top of St James's Weir, or Salmonpool Weir.
Yeah.
But we don't own that far down. We only own to about 250 yards above the St James's Weir. But it's a really quite nice stretch, of water. Certainly it was then. A fabulous stretch of water. You couldn't go into a tackle shop anywhere in the country, and they hadn't heard of Trews Weir.
Right, okay.
It was one of those places. So I started managing it for him.
And when was this? Remind me.
It's certainly 25 plus years ago.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you the exact date, November the 5th, so, but around that sort of time. And we talked about fishing. I taught him to fish. He went off and caught many species. I wouldn't consider the doc to be an avid angler like myself. To me, it's a compulsion. To him, it's just something he does. And I'm still in touch with him now, and he's still part of the fishery now. But what happened then was we started then talking about how to protect the fishery. It's private, and I never liked private fisheries, as you can tell, because I was already sneaking it. I was already sneaking it. So over the course of time, we would get a lot of people poaching it and abusing it, and this was really quite a vexation for the doc who owned it. He owned it outright. I'd never had any interest in it, the ownership then.
Was it a syndicate at that sort of stage?
It had been a syndicate before. No, it was just completely.
And he had closed it. He now owns it, and it's.
He owned it completely, lock, stock, and barrel. And obviously, he didn't understand about fisheries. He didn't understand the mechanics of fisheries. Like the minute you put a private fishing sign up, for starters, as you rightly put.
It's like a neon light, free fishing here.
So, in the early stages, we would get. One or two problems and one or two undesirables. I'm sure we've all met them. There's what I would call, there's two types of angling, and there's one that they don't care. They just literally turn up with gorge tackle and kill everything they catch and eat it and crap on the bank and trash everything in the process.
It's bad enough on the day tickets. You go to these day tickets around the country, like I was fishing diggers a lot. And you get lads turn up, and after they've come out their swim, there's just bin bags, like carrier bags of rubbish just left in the corner, and there's just no care about these things.
No, and that's.
Do you remember when we caught those guys? Sorry, do you remember when we caught those guys out once that dumped a bag of rubbish out on Beer Gate?
Yeah,
and it had a letter in the rubbish. So we knew exactly who it was, called him up, and he pulled up in the bin bag, made it all pick it all up. Full apology. Yeah,
no, we've all got a duty of care. I mean, and I think more. I think that's become apparent to me. More so in the last, I would say the last 10 years, when I look around and I look at our river fisheries in particular, like how they've declined and how the species have declined on the Exe. I mean, the River Exe is a shadow of its former self. The fish aren't spawning on the Exe anymore. There's no recruitment of species anymore. Trews Weir, though, Trews Weir is still one of the finest places to fish on the Exe. It's not like it was.
Do you think that's a pollution thing?
I think it's a water quality thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's stuff with the EA all the time, isn't there, about what's been dumped into our rivers?
Yeah.
And there's no real management over it, is there?
Well, I mean, South West Water. Let's face it, they're awful as an organisation. They're awful. I mean, we all look. I've got my own company. I want to make some money. Of course, I do. So do you. So does anybody else who's in business. But you've also got to provide.
There's got to be some service there as well.
There's got to be some service, and currently they're not providing the service, are they? If you look at your water bill, for instance, there'll be an element of a charge for sewage, for the taking away of it. That doesn't say that we're going to dump it in the river.
Because a lot of it's like overflows and stuff like that, isn't it? Once those tanks hit a certain level, I don't know enough of it to fully comment, but I've heard that it's not just they don't just pump, but when they get to a certain level, then they've got spillover.
Well, they're doing it a lot of the time now. I mean. Our infrastructure is very, very poor. We've got a very poor infrastructure system. So what happens is sewage and rainwater they go in the same pipe when really they should be separated. So when you get a flood, for instance, and it reaches the capacity of the pipe, inevitably the sewage ends up coming into the river and everywhere else, and that's what's happening more and more and more now. South West Water and all the other water companies have been making millions and millions and millions of pounds, and they've not been reinvesting it.
Do you think there's a problem with water runoff in general from, like you were saying about our infrastructure, or, it's not fit for purpose anymore. There's more people here, more cars on the road. Do you think it has something to do with that? If the land is permanently saturated, as soon as it rains, the land can't even take it anymore. It's just, it just floods, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I think there's a major problem here. I mean, look, the UK's we live in a fabulous island, and I'd like to consider myself to be a patriot, and I'm certainly not one of these guys that's going to get on the bandwagon and say, look, these people shouldn't be here or these people shouldn't be here. But I mean, clearly we've had an influx of population.
Yeah.
The figures I quote, like 10 million, I think, over the last 20 years.
We've been steady at it since the 60s.
There's been no major infrastructure.
I heard a really interesting quote that stuck with me the other day. The UK still looks at itself as a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
But we're like a 5-star hotel from 30 years ago that's never had any investment in it.
If you look at our environmental credentials, we're not far off third world country status. I mean, it's incredible, but I mean, our wildlife is in massive decline. Our rivers are some of the worst. You rank some of the worst.
G7s, yeah.
I mean, it's just incredible when you consider we've got some of the we've got over 90% of the chalk stream habitat in the world. And they're pumping sewage into it. They're allowing that to happen. Are we not that proud of our country and the fact that we've got some of these unique environments that we can't rush something through and start doing something about it? We know there's a problem now. We've known there's a problem certainly for the last 20 years, and yet we see consecutive governments coming in and just not seeming to care.
I've always compared it as like fish aren't seen by the Joe Boggs public as cute and cuddly, are they? They're not a furry animal.
Well, the general public don't see them, Danny.
They don't. The general public don't spend any time outside. No. You go up to the average Joe on the street and go, when was the last time you saw the sun come up? When was the last time you saw the sun come down? Yeah. When was the last time you sat outside and just stared at a full moon as it goes over the top? When was the last time you paid any attention to what the tides were doing?
Yeah.
They look at you like you're off your head.
What we as anglers
we probably are off our heads, but there's some simple pleasures in life.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Which I think people are more interested. They're quite happy to sit in front of a TV and they like to watch David Attenborough and they go, "Oh, this is terrible. What's going on?"
They don't realise it is on their doorstep.
I think a lot of people as well. To be fair to them, it's bloody expensive to live nowadays. And they're so caught up in just getting by that all that other stuff just falls into the wayside, doesn't it? And when you've got the BBC pumping Ukraine, pumping COVID, pumping this, pumping that, the narrative isn't about the rivers or about the sea. We had a little blip about microplastics in the water.
Yeah.
When was the last time you heard about that?
Well, we were talking about that on the way down. We were talking about fish, in particular sea fish, and the heavy metals that is now in some of the sea fish, but. Actually, it's always been there. These pollutants have always been there. I mean, unfortunately, when you're the top of the predator scale, which we are, of course, in our domain. I mean, it's clearly obvious that some of the things that we eat and that we ingest, our bodies are not going to be capable of getting rid of that. That's what's happening with microplastics. I mean, I would imagine now that if they tested everybody, I would imagine overwhelmingly 99% of everybody's got some sort of microplastic contamination 100%. In their body.
Right. So after that rant. Let's go back. Let's go back to the river. So the river's been on the decline. How do you manage that on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's very difficult because you're bashing your head against a brick wall. We've got an environment agency, and I've got to be careful where I am because I obviously have dealings with the environment agency. So I'm not going to go all out and rip into the environment agency. But my personal opinion is the environment agency is not fit for purpose. We've got the Angling Trust now. And again, I spoke with that on the way down here with Danny. Angling Trust as an organisation, look, it's fabulous. Absolutely.
Jamie Cook.
Absolutely fabulous. It's doing a lot of great work. Why the fuck is it funded by the EA?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I couldn't comment. I didn't know they were.
They are. I mean, all their funding comes from rod licenses. And you think to yourself, well, hang on. I mean, what's happening is the EA is a bit of a quasi-organisation now that can't really do anything, can't really achieve anything. So they part out what they're supposed to do. And get the Angling Trust to do it. And in turn, they offer incentives to angling clubs and things like that, which we can get onto, which is in forms of grants and things like that. But all it's doing is appeasing people. It's not actually solving the root problem. Like we used
Just
to have
kicking the can down the road.
It's kicking the can down the road and keeping people in their jobs. Maybe it's time that we just said, actually, it's not fit for purpose. Maybe we need to look more regionally with regards to rivers and things like that. We have all these cases about pollution, and the Environment Agency are very poor at prosecuting people about pollution. There's lots of pollution incidents, and they're very poor at prosecuting them. But when they do prosecute people about for pollution incidents, and they get paid out sometimes considerable amounts of money, it's not ring fenced. It goes straight to the government coffers. What's the point of that?
Well, it doesn't come back into.
Doesn't come back into the fishery pot. I mean, that's ridiculous. And if you've had a major pollution incident, just say use the X for example, and it goes to court. And this is another thing that the Angling Trust are good at. They've got very, very good lawyers. Fish Legal are very, very good, and they've done one or two prosecutions. But if you then get a settlement, you agreed a settlement, that money should be ring-fenced to go back into that venue, shouldn't it?
Yeah, straight in for the X. The problem was there, so that money goes back into there.
But it doesn't. It goes into the government coffers. So then the Environment Agency come down and do a bit of piecemeal work, chuck a few fish here, keep a few people happy here. And it's just not. It's not good.
I think you nailed it with that thing about keeping people in jobs. Because if the rivers were perfect, they wouldn't have a job. They talk about it in California with the homeless population. There's people getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year to manage homelessness. Yeah. But if they fixed homelessness, they wouldn't have those jobs with these massive.
Well, then it's just pay people to do nothing.
Yeah. So they're not really incentivized to do that much.
Just pay professional people to go and pick litter. So what? Who cares? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, the bulk of the idea is let's get stuff done, isn't it? I'm a firm believer in that. If you've got something to do, just get on and do it. Danny will tell you this. He knows. I don't fuck around with stuff like. But at the end of the day, if you've got a job to do it, let's just get it done. Like, at the end of the day, and they could do that. But there's no appetite. I mean, the government's awful. It's full of all these civil servants that are paid an absolute fortune. Then they haven't even gone back to bloody work, half of them, have they?
I can't comment. I haven't gone back to work in years.
No,
but
but these are paid. These are paid professionals, like and they're. I mean, I don't know what your experience of since the COVID pandemic is. But my experience is that the little things that you used to have, i.e. ringing up your water company, your bank, all those experiences now are just awful. They're just awful. You're waiting for hours on the end of a phone, like Well, and then somebody picks up, and you can hear their kid screaming in the background, like
so you can directly correlate that to the fishing industry directly, and also the biking industry. But there's a lot of brands that are in utter pieces within selling supply and demand, and it's the crux of it is still because of COVID, and it's horseshit.
Yeah, it is horseshit. Yeah. I worked all the way through it every single day.
I call COVID the printing press.
Well,
it's brilliant for us. Not in the fishery side, not on the tackle side of things. We weren't even running.
But how mad was it that they said you could go and exercise, but you couldn't go and fish? You couldn't take my boat out in COVID.
Yeah. My boat was locked in the marina. Yeah, I can go out.
You couldn't go about 10 miles out at sea, as if you were ever going to catch fucking COVID 10 miles out at sea. I mean, that was well thought out, wasn't it?
I still haven't caught it. So, at what stage did you turn the river into a syndicate? It's
never been a syndicate. It's not a syndicate now.
So what's he doing there?
Therein comes the crux of it, really. We had many discussions as to how we alleviate the problem of people poaching and undesirables and things like that. Clearly, the doc owned it outright. Although he lives local, you can't watch something. You can't watch things 24 hours a day. You just can't. It's impossible. And I suggested to him, do you know what? Maybe rather than keeping it private, maybe we need to invite one or two people into the fold. These people then will become our eyes and our ears.
Like bailiffs in.
We don't make people. But indirect.
Yeah,
we don't give them titles and things like that. But gradually over the course of time, we invited one or two people in the fold, and we've got a little WhatsApp group now with several of the people that come to fish. I mean, the salmon fishing is always the bulk of the people that are. We have a separate group for the salmon fishing because salmon are transient and they're just coming through. We never really care too much how much salmon fishing pressure is on that part of the river because they don't live there. We're a bit more careful with the resident species, the pike and the perch and chub and things like that. So I'm always trying to micromanage that to make sure that there's not too much pressure being applied on things, so we don't always grant people permission to fish, but they're part of the fold, and generally anybody who asks to fish, they will allow them to fish. And in return for that, what we've got is we've got a group of people that's been sort of manicured over the years that really value Trews Weir. So if something's going on there, Danny's rung me up before when he's walked past there and somebody's been fishing there. Anybody fishing today, Mark? I'll have a little look on my list, and if there's not, we know that there's a problem. And it generally looks after itself.
Okay.
Which is good.
Yeah, it's a good way to do.
I think there is a core little group of us, are proud of that. And I mean, not every day I walk past that, and every day I do the look, and I look if there's, and that's not about.
But we've never turned, Trews Weir has never ever turned anybody away if they've asked, if they've gone for the right channels to fish.
Okay.
Why would you? I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody's coming there prepared to fish and they're prepared to put their quarry back and look after them and look after the venue, then really, what harm are they doing?
Do you have a stocking program on there?
Stocking's difficult on the river.
It just moves up and down.
Well, no, it's because the EA. This is one of the major problems with our rivers. I mean, I actually sort of half-heartedly agree with the EA's position on this. It's a river, it's a wild venue. It should, to all intents and purposes, be recruiting its own species. So you shouldn't need to restock unless, of course, there's been a pollution incident or a fish kill. So the EA's position on rivers is that, and I've applied to stock Trews Weir, is that they won't allow any stockings. And every time you say to them, well, look, there's a problem here. It may not be your fault. It may be water quality fault, which is something that I feel it is a major.
You test the water.
I'm actually just in the process of openly getting some testing kits to test the water as we speak, because that's something we go down. But the trouble is, I mean, there's groups all over the country testing water. Nobody's still not taking any notice of it. They're not.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. You got the. Danny touched on it earlier on, but the general public, Trews Weir's very, very centralised. It's in the heart of the city. And if you go down on a sunny day on the weekend, there are hundreds of people there, hundreds, and they're all walking by. And if you polled every one of them, they probably couldn't tell you a single fish that lives in there, because that's the problem with angling. Is that in fact we spend a lot of time advertising the fluffy little animals. I don't want to talk about otters because I haven't got a problem with otters, but they use these things, and birds and all other mammals and things like that people are likely to see.
Shall I FaceTime Des Taylor quickly?
But they don't see the fish, and that's a real shame.
Yeah,
that's a real shame because let's face it. Forget the fishing. Watching fish is just the most fabulous occupation, isn't it? I just can't understand why people just don't spend more time looking into the water, and then they might identify. They might be sympathetic to us, And we've got a problem. Angling's got a problem because there are a lot of groups that are absolutely anti-angling, which I don't think holds any weight, by the way. Because my personal feeling is that without anglers, our fisheries completely are doomed, because we're the only people that are looking out for them, because the general public isn't.
Yeah,
we've got all these organisations like that are just absolutely useless when it comes to fish. If you go onto any of the major wildlife, there's been some great programs, right? But any of the major wildlife charities, for instance, and see how much information there is on fish. None. They don't talk about
land-based stuff.
It's all land-based stuff. If it's got furs and feathers, it's fabulous, But at the end of the day, seeing a bream in clear water in its natural environment, why isn't that?
I would say carp over bream, but
bloody mud pigs carping on the
although a bream of
a 10-pound bream on a feeder rod out of a weir pool. It's a fabulous experience,
Bit gay, to be honest, but we'll just brush over that one. It's really not my cup of tea. Maybe a good sized chub or some perch or some pike, but bream are proper at the bottom of my radar.
See, I absolutely love. We used to have massive shows of bream on the X. Massive shows of bream. You go down there and do £100 of bream. Pretty much any time you wanted. Night fishing for bream on the quiver tip. I used to love it. Absolutely love it. They're gone, completely gone.
None at all.
None at all.
I don't remember. I mean, I saw probably on the walks, the COVID walks, I saw like maybe 6 or 7 on the quay once.
When St James's below Trews Weir collapsed, all those tidal bream came up. But of course, we've got a problem now with seals. Seals are coming right up to right up the river, and apparently this is
the same problem on the Dart.
Yeah, apparently it's a problem nationwide. And it's because the seal. It's funny because I was watching a YouTube clip today. They were out looking for great whites in Brittany, the Oceania boat. They think that there's almost certainly great whites out and around that area. And he was talking about the seal populations and that they're not being predated enough. So you ended up with a bit of a problem, it's because they're flourishing. And of course, they're just going to eat everything in their wake,
So a seal eats, I want to say, and this might be wrong, but it's not far off, a third of its body weight a day in fish.
That's incredible, isn't it?
In they're big animals. So on the River Dart, there used to be salmon netters. The old school. They'd row out, pitch the net.
We used to have the same on the X. They bought them all out a few years ago.
Yeah, so they bought them all out on the River Dart. Well, what the fishermen used to do was shoot the seals.
Yeah.
It kept the seal population on top. You go out in the River Dart now, it's bereft of fish. Anything above Ditsom, there's nothing up there anymore.
And I'd say that's where we're heading now. I mean, because every single spring tide now, we get seal right up in the town centre.
You get them all the way up into Totnes. You get them right up the top of the Dart. And opposite Stoke Gabriel, there's a pontoon at Blackness.
Covered in them. Yeah.
Covered in them. 10 years ago, you'd never see a seal up there. My boat was moored up there previous to moving it downriver. I'd come out of there in the mornings, there'd be 30 seals let out. There's the big bull sat on the rocks. Then you've got all the females and all the pups, and they're just on this pond. The pontoon's leaning like that, where they're all down one end. Like there's an absolute lump of them. And if you're going, let's just say that number was right, that I said a third of their weight, there's got to be a ton of fish being eaten a day out of that Dart. And that's all the schoolie bass that are coming up. There's no salmon in there anymore.
No.
Used to see them above the weir in Totnes. I don't walk it enough now.
The salmon are the salmon on a massive decline nationwide, aren't they? The X, certainly, we've noticed a massive decline on the X in the last half a dozen years. From getting.
Do you keep logs?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and we're this year we're at 10% of what a catch rate was 5 years ago, and it's unsustainable. And we've talked to the powers that be about seals. There's no appetite to do anything about seals. They moved one. I mean, I think they moved one from Plymouth some time ago because everybody was feeding it pasties.
They've got the one in Brixton Harbour that's like the resident one in there, huge, great big thing. But they're all over Brixton Marina. They all sleep on. They've got these wave breaks. They're just littered.
Well, I don't want to advocate killing stuff. I'm all for nature, but we do need to find a balance. I think we've hit a crazy time in the UK in particular, and you start hearing things, we're reintroducing this and we're reintroducing that. Well, maybe, I don't know, extinction events, they were always, whatever way you looked at, whatever way you frame an extinction event, it happened. When the dinosaurs
it wasn't always human.
It wasn't always humans, and environment changes, and I just think we're almost like playing God. I mean, the otters, for instance, and I categorically state before anybody fucking slates me on this, I have no problem with otters, none at all. I like seeing otters, but the otter now is at its peak levels here in Devon, and rather than being highly mobile, and rather than being a creature that survives on its own devices, we've reintroduced them. And actually, if one gets injured out on the street tonight, somebody's going to take it away. They're going to make it better again. That's increasing the survival rate. It's not doing what nature intended. Like nature intended for mortality to affect things ad hoc on a random basis. Like it didn't account for us interfering with that natural. So you have more otters now, and those otters are predating heavily on the rivers. And not only that, the RSPB don't want to talk about it, but the stark reality is they are killing loads of birds, loads and loads of ground nesting birds. So the River Exe in its lower reaches in the Exeter Canal, they're all under a triple SI. If you go down there early season when the birds are nesting, especially if you go down the towpath side towards turf locks, you will see evidence of otters ripping out those nests and eating eggs and the young and the chicks and stuff like that. And nobody wants to talk about it.
So again on the Dart, they reintroduced otters. We had only just moved down here, so it's the very early 90s, 92, 93, they reintroduced them. There isn't a fishery within 20 miles of the Dart now that hasn't got an otter fence around it, because they've just been in and done everything. Rax has just had the otter fence.
Well, that's another
Newbarn's
problem.
got the problem. Town Parks has got the problem. Oh, there's a place out in Harberton. I was a member there. I should remember this. The most beautiful little lake. It's as the crow flies. I don't know, 10 miles from the Dart, but it's got a water course, and they just work their way up that water course. Everything's had to be fenced now. The one down in Kingsbridge, Coombe Fisheries, they had to fence all of that because they got completely wiped out. They put a fence up, restocked it, and then they were still finding dead carp getting pulled out. So they set trail cameras up, and at the bottom of the river, where the river flows through, they had a flap. And it was a heavy flap, but it would be pinned back. They put a trail cam there. They had the otters. I've seen the footage of it. They'd have the otters coming up at night. One of those otters worked out to go, and then it would go, and then it would let itself back out again. And it decimated everything they had restocked again. I was talking to one of the scientists that did tuna tagging recently about seals and about otters, and they're like, but that's their natural environment. You've just got to let them go. And I'm like, but the problem is with their natural environment, it's being impacted heavily already by water pollution, by these other sorts of things. So that ecosystem needs support, not a load of extra predators on top.
Yeah, I mean, there's another argument that you could put forward to exactly what you're saying. It's an argument that certainly I put forward, is that otters, they were never extinct from Devon. Never were extinct from Devon. There was a small population, maybe smaller population than it had in previous years, but then they increased the population by putting a few more out into the system. I don't agree with that.
A lot.
We then had a situation where we had a lot of commercial fisheries, they didn't exist 50 years ago. So you had this massive enhanced natural larder. So these otters for the last 10 years, 15 years, have been breeding, I think, in proportions that were far more than the natural environment could have sustained.
We created the best environment for them to flourish, didn't we?
And then now, of course, because people are losing their livelihoods, and it's quite rightly so, they've invested in their fisheries, they're fencing them off. Where are these otters going?
Back in the river.
They're going back in the rivers, and they're already in a depleted system anyway, and there's probably 10 times more otters than the system can support. There's nothing wrong with otters. I mean, you need predators. In every system, you need predators. I don't think anybody could argue that that's not the case. But we're in a situation now where the amount of predation far exceeds what would be recommended levels.
The larder is empty for that many fish.
And we shouldn't be interfering with them. You know, we've got the UK Otters Trust. And look, I mean, I've met the chap from the UK Otters Trust. He's a really nice chap, very passionate about what he does, and I'm certainly not going to slate him. But I don't know. I mean, I just think, do you know what? Should we be buggering around with the natural mortality of nature and a species, like, you know, because currently we're saving things as well, which under normal circumstances would have just passed away.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, sometimes I do get it on the other side, because we've buggered about so much with, like, we've polluted the rivers so much, we've caused all these other problems that some of those species wouldn't have survived anyway. So it is a man-made problem.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
That we would have knocked those otters out because there's not enough for them to have, you know. Yeah. But by keeping them going at the same time, they just.
I think it's a real danger. The trouble is with the lifespan of otters is considerable. I don't know off the top of my head, but I mean it's considerable. And if we've now got a population that far exceeds,
Google it. You should know this, Danny. Come on.
Far exceeds what the natural environment. You know, I mean, the environment is not being supplemented by additional fish stock and things like that, because the Environment Agency has a policy not to stop fish in natural environments unless there's been a flooding incident. Pollution incident.
10 to 15 years in the wild.
What sort of damage?
20 years in a protected environment.
So what sort of damage what sort of, if you've got, let's just say, for instance, we've got twice I think that's a very conservative estimate, twice the number of otters or predators than there should be on our already pressurized system. And these predators can live for 10 years. What's the end result? It's terrifying, isn't it? I mean, it's just
they're getting more
terrifying.
brazen as well. We were sat down on the Bute Canal. Probably this would have been, was it pre-COVID? No, it wasn't. Might not have been pre-COVID, but anyway, I was sat down on the Bute Canal doing a day session, not bream fishing, carp fishing, and it's like midday. You got dog walkers, paddle boarders, people fishing. This big dog, this big male otter, dump, 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 up the towpath like that. And there's dog walkers coming towards it. And I was watching this thing. And there's this couple walking with this big pair of chocolate labs. And it got to within 20 yards. And you can see the people trying to get their phones out to record it. And it wasn't until that one lab barked at it that it shot in the hedge.
Yeah.
Didn't care.
Yeah, well, that's the trouble.
Big old thing as well. You could hear it as it was going up the path, and you're like, that's broad daylight, and it doesn't care what it's doing.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's got a very modest garden pond. Had some big koi, kois in. I mean, in the last 2 years, they've just had them all. And they don't eat them. That's the thing. I mean, actually,
they just rip the guts out.
Rip the guts out, rip the soft tissue out, and then just leave them.
Eat the gills and heart and leave the rest in it.
Yeah, we used to find them down at racks because they did weedy pond first because it was like the bottom pond right in the corner. Didn't get a lot of pressure. Nice little pond. The amount of times I'd rock up down there and there's just one on the side, just ripped out.
Yeah.
You'd find pike, you'd find anything that they could grab out the margin. They're not particularly.
Well, they had one of our barbel down the Weir, which I was upset about. But
how big was the
It's a big
barbel?
barb, wasn't it?
10, 12, yeah, something like that.
It's a nice barbel.
Yeah, we got. I don't want to tell you too much about it here on here. People might listen, might.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So next subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice fish. So, how did you end up as an owner of that stretch?
So the doc who owned it eventually decided that actually he wanted to sell it, and he put it up for sale
On the open market?
on the open market. And I just thought, well, that's thanks for the memories. It's been great. At the end of the day, I mean, I certainly couldn't afford to have bought it on my own.
How long ago was this?
Oh, 15 years ago, 10, 12, 15 years ago, something like that.
How much did it go up for?
It wasn't a lot of money. I mean, it was, I think it was 40 odd grand.
Okay.
So it's not, it wasn't a lot of money, but I mean, to me at the time, 40 grand was
40
considered
grand,
amount
40
of
grand.
money.
15 years ago, 40 grand,
Yeah.
a proper 40 grand.
But
40 grand now is a takeaway in a weekend in Farmer for a tuna tournament.
and I was just very fortunate that the people that bought into it, they offered me to buy a share. They valued my input into it, and the fact that I
Was this just another private individual that thought, "I fancy a bit of this"? Or was
well,
someone
there was three. What happened was there was three private individuals that decided that they were going to purchase it.
Did you know them at the time?
I knew one of them,
Yeah.
and they just invited me into the fold. So I bought a quarter share of it, and that's basically how it is now. In fact, Dr. Rogers, the original owner, now is also back in the fold. Somebody sold out their share, and he's bought back in. So it's gone.
Came back in again.
It's gone full circle, really.
So there's four of you that own it.
There's four of us that own it. Yeah, one doesn't fish, and the other two do a little bit of fishing, but not a great.
Did they
deal.
just see something? Thought this is a beauty? Were they local guys?
Yeah.
So they knew what it was, and they just thought this is a beautiful place.
Yeah, I think actually that you've just hit the nail on the head. I mean, actually, I think that's the reason why anybody would buy a fishery is it's much deeper than the fishing, because I mean, actually, I've had access to fish Trews Weir for years. I very rarely go down there because I don't have so much interest in fishing Trews Weir as I used to. And I don't mean that to be sort of on a blasé sort of derogatory sort, but. I actually like going out. I like going elsewhere.
Yeah, going
but to be able to share it with people that have never had that sort of access, I mean, I think that's fabulous too. I mean, and we occasionally get a youngster come along and we'll invite them into the fold and teach them how to fish and show them. So being able to give
Give back.
Get other people the opportunity to fish something that, for mostly all of its time, had been a very exclusive private salmon fishery. You couldn't course fish on it. You couldn't get on it. Now you can, if you go through the right channels, So like I said, we've never refused anybody. Not during my ownership with the other three guys, or indeed Dr. Rogers when he owned it as an individual.
Do you see yourself relinquishing your ownership at any time, or
no?
You just a nice thing to have.
It's just a nice thing to have. I mean, I think probably in the end I'll probably just leave it to my daughter. My daughter's 27 now. At the end of the day, she spent her entire life down there too. Work parties on a Saturday morning and stuff like that. Like as she was growing up, she used to like fishing. She's caught big pike, big carp. She's done it all. But she's 27. She's not interested in fucking fishing now.
The work parties were always such an interesting thing to be involved in. And that was my favourite. I mean, the couple that we've done, and just taking the stuff out off the floods.
Well, last time we went down, I think the last time we went down, all the time before we went down, my daughter Chloe came down. Like, she's a swim teacher, so she swims very well, and she came down with her wetsuit or dry suit, whatever it is they call it. And it was diving in and putting ropes on these trolleys and things like that. Because it's town centre. Unfortunately, you get a lot of shit in it.
So as part of that section, the main bridge where you go over into the big roundabout.
No, but it's just slightly below that, downstream from
that.
Yeah.
So it's near the quay, the historic quay in the city centre there.
Yeah,
it's at the
I
end.
don't know Exeter too well. I try not to go into cities if I can help it. They're funny, busy places. They really aren't for me.
That's what I do. I avoid them at all costs. I live in one, but I don't much want to spend too much time in it, because it's just frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, very frustrating.
That's why I like being at sea, really. So.
That's why I like being at sea. I've said it a lot on here. It's that last great bastion of freedom.
No mobile signal, no mobile phone signal. You're just out there, it's just fabulous. Yeah.
Phone off, radio. Well, my radio don't work half the time. That's a problem we're working through at the moment. But the lads can be alongside me. They're trying to radio me. I can hear them. They can't hear me coming back. So, yeah, it is a nice place to be. I spent 20 years on freshwater lakes.
Yeah.
And it got to the stage where it was all. I disappeared into Europe. I started doing a lot of fishing in Belgium and, dipping in and out of here, there, and just these stretches of water where you wouldn't.
And has it always been carp?
Yeah. So
you've missed a trick. You've missed a trick, really, because there are lots of other species.
There are lots of other species in the winter. Me and my mate Captain Blank would go and attempt to do a bit of piking or a bit of this, but I loved my winter carp fishing more than I liked my spring carp fish. As soon as they spawned, I'll be gone.
Yeah,
not interested, because I was always trying to catch the biggest fish. I wasn't just fishing one place, and I was that bloke that was always on one lake all the time. I'll be dipping around all these different lakes, and I was always trying to catch the biggest fish in the lake. A lot of campaign fishing, a lot of pre-baiting and all that sort of stuff. And as soon as I love the winters. There'd be nobody about. The fishing's even harder again.
Yeah.
So when you got that big fish and it's all its winter colours, it means 10 times more.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Then instead of in the build up in spring when they're building up, they're going to spawn. You can catch them on pretty much anything. Yeah, I liked coming out of winter. I like into autumn, fishing all the way through the winter, and then coming into spring. And then you get all the fair weather anglers turning back up again, wouldn't it? And it'd be like, round the corner of your bivvy. You seen much, mate? Oh, are you using yellow pop-ups? Oh, I heard they like fish meal around there. Oh, fuck off. Just go away. I've just had this whole place to myself for the last 3 months. And
I had a lot of carp. I had a lot of carp. I don't dismiss carp angling, but I've sort of gone full circle with it. In them early days when I was on the river a lot, I used to have it pretty much to myself. There was one or two other anglers there. There was a lot of carp there, not 40-pounders, but fish to 30 pounds.
A 30-pound river carp is worth any 50-pound lake
and
carp.
These things would pull your arm off. I can remember.
They live in the flow, and they know how to make the flow work to their advantage.
I can remember catching 14 double-figure fish off of Trews Weir on floating breakfast. 14. One off the bat. There was that many carp in there in them days. They're not. There are carp there now. There's still big carp there. I think the biggest recently. 27, something like that.
So it's still a hell of a fish for a river fish.
But a river carp, I mean, you're absolutely
You should
right.
see him as well. They're
Well, I'm going to, since you've given me an open invite to fish whenever I want.
such a twat.
No, you did. You were saying, we've got it on one of the other podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, honestly, it was when Alan Blair was, he was like, oh, Alan, honestly, Alan, Andy, you come up as well. You sound, literally, we might have been out there with tickets. Come in fishing, just come up. It's open fishery was the word he used. It's
we
in
had
the
set
town
up-
centre, they can't police it, I think he said.
You're such a twat.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise.
I'm the twat, have you seen your trousers, mate?
But we had set up the chap to
Yeah,
but it was
the road.
it was like the river
was flooded,
bounds,
yeah.
wasn't it? So
I was going to do a couple of nights there, but the weather gods put fire to that. So
Too much flood water coming through.
I mean, it's bank high at the moment, like, you know, which is good. I mean, I like to see the river high. It gives it a good flush. Out. I'm feeling confident that it'll be in fine fettle in the next half a dozen days, I would think. You know, so river fishing.
Downpour comes
Well,
through.
I mean, that's winter, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I like hard fishing. I've got used to it. You know, I mean,
I like hard fishing as well. It's better for the soul, I
yeah,
find.
well, I mean, it can be demoralising. It can be demoralising, but then you just get that one, don't you?
Yeah, but all you need is that one.
Yeah, one. Yeah,
That one bite.
yeah,
And it just changes the game.
yeah.
Sometimes it would be like, I can remember doing some winter campaigns and you just blank, and you're not fishing for a lot of fish and you catch a 10-pounder. The game has changed. Back on, you're straight back into it again. You know, the fire's reignited. Yeah, I like hard fishing.
That hard fishing, it applies everywhere, doesn't it? It applies to sea fishing as well. You get days when it's just rock hard, and you know, for one reason or another, like, you know, but you keep.
of course,
You keep digging away at it, like, you know, and eventually you get something, like, you know.
See, sea fishing's got me now. I always thought sea fishing, this is going to sound terrible, was for noddies.
Yeah.
I just thought you could turn up, flick a bait out,
Yeah, it's not
you know,
like that.
and you were just going to catch something. It couldn't be farther from the truth. It is some of the trickiest stuff I've done.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just goes to plan and it cannot go wrong. In other days, you're just like, there's no fish in this sea. Where have they all gone?
I'm like that now. I would say no. Now that I've also got my own boat as well. Like, you know, actually, I prefer to be at sea than I do anywhere else. It's just, yeah.
Is that a freedom thing or is that the discipline of sea fishing?
I think it's a freedom. I think it's a mix of both, really. Like, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, the wife and the daughter like to come out with me. You know, just
That's why I like sea fishing. My wife and daughters hate the boat.
Well,
So
mine
it's perfect.
don't like it. They don't like it if there's a bit of sea, which is, of course, most of the time.
Yeah.
It's very rare you get a flat, calm sea in it, you know. But I only took the wife and daughter out a few weeks ago, and they'd never seen dolphins in the wild. Like, you know, they'd seen them in captivity. Like, you know, we just managed to get a show of dolphins out there right beside their boat. Like, and they were like,
You see, on board of dolphins.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I don't
I see
take
them
it,
every
so-
single trip, and
I
it's
don't
like,
take it,
there's the dolphins again.
I don't take
that
it
goes
in
back to
also.
what we said earlier on about a lot of the public would only associate that with David Attenborough program, whereas actually you just said it.
It's on the
you're
coast.
bored of it. You go out, you see so much of it now.
Most people have only seen it in one
Yeah.
of those swimming pool
Yeah.
dolphin shows in Tenerife.
What is assumed to be something like that must be a once in a lifetime. Well, no, it's not.
Do you know,
It's that all the
if
time.
I had to pick one thing that I like seeing at sea, this is just my quirk. It's a gannet. A gannet going in.
Gannet's diving.
it's
Oh,
just
mate, the way they dive,
fucking-
that
it's just
wing
incredible.
comes back.
And if you're close and you actually see them go, I mean, it's just fucking incredible.
Shearwaters is my favourite,
Yeah.
personally.
Have you ever caught one?
No, not yet.
Fucking hellfire, yeah.
They're back in massive numbers because we had the bird flu
Yeah, just
last year
yeah,
before.
a couple of years ago. So I can remember being out.
You go out, there's a dead one, there's a dead
It
one.
was bizarre, wasn't it? It was almost like some apocalyptic event had happened. Like, it was just quiet at sea, and you'd have all these birds which you'd normally associate with being in the sky, and they would all be on the sea, like, you're just acting a little bit different. You knew it. You knew it was different. It just felt different. Like, yeah, and you'd see dead birds and that.
It was weird. The first time we went out, the first time I saw it, we were going out. We were going tuna fishing, and we were steaming out. And you know, like, you got gannets sat there. As soon as you get within a couple of 100 yards with the boat, they just disappear off. And we've steamed past this boat, and the wash is gone bobbing through the wash. I was with Sean, and I've nudged Sean. I've gone, check that stupid thing out. It hasn't even moved.
Yeah.
And then another one went past, and he was like, "They're dead."
Yeah.
I was like, "Nah." That day we must have seen 50.
Yeah.
and then we would be like on a tuna bust, and there wasn't a bird to be seen going in.
Mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it was terrible. All the colony birds got an absolute hammering.
They did. Yeah,
but they've sprung back really quickly.
Yeah, I mean,
there's loads of them out there.
It's alive out there now, isn't it? It's certainly on the tuna bus. I've seen them. So
yeah, it's like locust. It's like a swarm of locust in the distance. You can just see this like black cloud of birds.
And unless the members of the general public are on YouTube or something like that, which a lot of them are, and you know, and you can see that, but it's not like seeing.
But most of them are watching silly dances and things like that, aren't they?
But it's not like seeing it in the flesh. Is
No,
it?
it's not.
I mean,
No.
I mean, it's just.
Gannets are incredible things.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I love them. I always like seeing them.
So when did you get a boat?
Oh, I got a boat probably just after COVID.
Okay. Always fancied a boat, or just?
Well, I got a history of sea fishing. I've been on charter boats lots of times over the years, and been charter boat pretty much once a month with my friends on charter boats and things like that. But COVID came along, and our freedoms had been sort of inhibited and
Illegally taken away.
And
yeah.
of course, so I was getting desperate because my leaning was I was just leaning to be at sea more, and I was finding that the commercial charters and stuff like that, they give you a date, blown off, and I was starting to get frustrated. Frustrated because they got business. I understand how it works. Like they book a lot of people in for a
They've
Tuesday.
got people's safety to think about, haven't they?
Yeah, they book people in on a Tuesday, and they got another group on a Wednesday. So Tuesday your date would be on the Tuesday, and it get blown off, and then of course they got commitments to the other people on the Wednesday. And I was thinking to myself, well, if I had my own boat, actually, I'm going to get more opportunity. I'm clearly going to get more opportunity, because rather than having the first Sunday in the month or last Sunday in the month, actually, if the weather's good, I can just go. I can go. So that was the main reason why I did it, and I did that with. I discussed it with a young guy, Sev Gosniski from Combe Valley Tackle. I don't know if you know him.
I know Combe Valley Tackle very well because I used to use it every time. Because Diggers is like a mile up the road.
Right, okay.
So I'd dive in there all the time, grab a packet of hooks, grab a leg clip, grab this, grab that.
Well, I'm close with Sev.
I don't know him. I just know.
He sort of came to me, sort of my recognition really when he was a youngster. When he did what we were talking about with Trews Weir, he rang up and asked if he could fish. So I sort of took him under my wing after that, and we've been really good friends ever since.
He's done a hell of a job with that tackle shop.
He has,
It's now one of the go-to...
Yeah.
Sorry, Sean. It's now one of the go-to tackle shops around here. Really well stocked.
Yeah, it is. So me and him were always pretty tight, and I was discussing this, getting a boat with him, and this was just before he got into Combe Valley Tackle. So I went down and bought a boat, thinking, me and Seb will spend some time together. It was great. He could find time, I could find time. But then, of course, Seb bought into Combe Valley Tackle. His time's more valuable to him now, so he doesn't get so much time. And he still comes out with me. He still comes out with me whenever he can make a time, which is great. I always enjoy that. But I'm getting to a stage in my life where I have more time. I can make time. I've got a contract cleaning business in the city. Contract cleaning takes places. Everybody knows it takes places out of hours. I'm not working at 2:00 in the afternoon. So, and I'm always working. I work every day of the week. I've always got a member of staff off sick or somebody on holiday or something like that, or just need to keep a bit of money coming in,
fuel money.
Yeah. So I'm always doing a little bit. So generally, my hours are. I wake up at 4:00 in the morning, which I've done for the last 30 years. Wake up at 4:00 in the morning. I might do a couple of hours work. Then the rest of the day's mine. So I go fishing. I go fishing 12 hours. Come home at 6, 7 o'clock at night. And have my tea and do it again the next day. But I can do that.
It's a good existence.
The wife says to me, "Why do you do that? Look at the state of you. You've got fucking sunburn. Look at the state of you. Why don't you look after yourself?" And I said, "Well, I am. I'm enjoying my life."
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're saying, but life's too short. We're all going to be dead in a box at some point or another.
We're all worm food at some point.
Yeah, so let's just get on with it and do it. Then sleep's one of these things you can always catch up on it, but you can't catch up.
Life's short.
And you can't catch up on great days fishing.
You can't. So what was the boat you bought out of COVID?
So I bought the Orkney Fastliner. Which was a really nice boat, and I bought that from a guy down in Plymouth, and that was my sort of introduction. And I'm still a novice on boats. That's quite obvious. Like I've not had boats all my
Oh yeah,
life.
me too.
And it's been a really steep learning curve,
Every day's a learning curve.
which I've enjoyed. So we got this is really quite a nice story. So it was something that me and Sev were going to do together, but Sev went on to Pastures New with his Combe Valley, and I have no issue with that at all. I mean, I pushed him to do that because I was really pleased that he did. But then I'm left with a boat, and I've not
Need
got
some new friends.
and I've got no experience or limited experience, should I say? And I was a little bit nervous about it. I was a little bit nervous about it all.
It's a daunting place to see.
But I was on Facebook one day on the marketplace. I was just looking for some fishing gear, and I saw a little advert from a guy who was looking for a fishing buddy who had lots of experience.
Fishing buddy for sale.
Yeah, well, no, he just sort of introduced himself and said, "Look, I've had a few problems over the last couple of years, but I used to work for, I've got great experience. I used to have my own boat. I'm just looking for somebody with a boat who might want to take me out fishing, and I'll share the costs with you, So I gave him I gave him a ring, and we've been fishing together ever since. It's fabulous. I'm not going to mention him because I don't want to embarrass him. He might not like it. So, but
that's fine.
We've become really, really good friends, and that wealth of experience that he had.
You brought something to the table.
He brought a lot to the table, because when he's still got his old GPS and stuff like that, so he's got all these marks and things like that where he was out there with the commercials years ago, So we get the best of both worlds now.
So the Orkney was the first boat. What engine was on that?
That was I put a new one on it, an unrestricted 40 Tohatsu.
Right, okay.
So, but it was so they said they rated them at 50, the unrestricted ones. So that would tuck along like it would do 20 knots, which is all right. 20 knots is pretty fast, especially when the sea's a little bit sea on it.
Especially with no cuddy on it. You're getting the full experience, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then you've swapped it, haven't you? So what are you in now?
Well, what I did is actually, funny enough, I bought another boat. I was just thinking to myself, do you know what? Actually, like you do, you sort of you want to sort of just step it up a little bit
12
more.
metre princess he's got,
a little bit more
Princess don't make
comfort. And I was talking to my wife one day and saying, just do you know what? I mean, I'd like a bigger boat.
We're going to need a bigger boat.
And she said, well, have you got anything in mind? And I said, well, I know the commercials use the fibre bars out at sea, and they rate them. So
a lot. Well, we spoke about a lot of the rod in line bass boys have got them.
Yeah, I see them quite a lot. I see. So a day or two went by, and then I saw one advertised down in Plymouth. One owner, 10 years old. One owner, but it had everything on it, all bells and whistles, stainless steel anchors, a lot. It's just incredible the amount of money that this guy's spent on it. And it was up for sale in the marina down in Plymouth, and I showed it to the wife. And
QAB, wasn't it? I think was it QAB?
Yeah.
I remember you sending me the picture. Look what I've done. I was like, oh bloody hell, get on.
Was it 7 metre?
Yeah.
So a good sized boat, 7 metres.
Yeah, it is nice.
Fat. 7.5 metres is a good size 2-man fishing platform.
Yeah.
Can take a bit of sea.
Yeah.
The maintenance costs in the mooring costs are still at a reasonable level.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of, but my boat's that size. So I'm floating in around 7.5.
No, you feel like you suddenly feel
got a bit of deck underneath your feet.
Yeah, the Orkney was a great boat, but you touched on it earlier on. Offshore. I used to go offshore when the weather was right, but actually
It had to be right.
It had to be. It had to be right. And if you
proper
got
window.
caught, I've been caught out. I got caught out. We got caught out several times in the Orkney coming back, and it's just shitty. Fucking 4.5 knots. Fucking
Just
waves
smashing into
There's no cabin or cuddy to protect you from it. You're just drowned. It's
tasting salt for a week, aren't you? With everything, every time you have a
it's
drink.
just not pleasant. Whereas this boat negates quite a lot of that, and it's just a fabulous boat. So it was there, and of course, first and foremost, I showed the wife. So she's going to have and I showed the wife, and she said, "Well, if you want it." Get it?
Did you still have the Orkney at this stage?
I still had the Orkney.
So you became an admiral.
Oh yeah, I had 2 boats. So
I've been an admiral a couple of times.
But interestingly enough, it was up there, and I think I said a price of it, but I had a very good deal, and I still had the other boat. I put the other boat up for sale, and about a week after I put it up, the guys Ash Marine, who look after my boats, always have done. They're great for me. They took it on commission, and about a week later, I had a phone call from the guy that I had originally bought the boat off. He said, "Mark, you're selling the boat?" I said, "Yes, I've got a bigger one, Aaron. Can I buy it?"
Hang on, there's a theme here. There's a theme with this river. The guy that bought back into it, and now there's boats that are being bought back
it seems
into
to all
as well,
comes full. It did seem to be sort of how my life has always sort of run. Like, I mean, things do sort of go full circle. So I said, "Well, why do you want to buy it back?" He said, my kids. He used to take his kids out. It was that more down in Plymouth. He had a little cheap mooring down there, and just used to go out and do a bit of bass fishing inshore, and the kids absolutely loved it. He said, "I've had nothing but shit since I sold that boat." He said, "So so he made me offer."
I hope you sold it here.
No, I didn't. I did all right on it. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it had a really good fish finder on it, which obviously I kept. Although I got fish finder on this one, I've now got a posh boat, 2 fish finders. I thought myself, well,
I've just gone to 2 screens as well.
Great,
you feel special, don't you? I've got one here and one up there.
I've just had a bloody transducer put, but through old transducer put, because I got the
changes the game, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know. I've not tried it yet. So
so when you're running, so with that one at the back, you always get the commotion of the prop.
Yeah, and that's right. You do.
I've got through holes on mine. Different gravy.
So I've got so the fish finder I've got is I've got the Ray Marine Axiom, which is the sort of it's nice. Yeah, it's not. It's a nice one. But
I'm Ray Marine as well. Welcome to the club.
Yeah,
it's nice to have you.
It's I think a good setup. Isn't it? I don't know nothing about this shit.
You may find you may get calls because
I know nothing about them, but I can put you in touch with someone that I ring. Will Parkinson, you're getting a phone call.
But no, I was getting frustrated because I was out with one of my charter, because I still do a bit of charter fishing, obviously, because I've got friends that do it, so it's a social and I enjoy it. So, but I was out with one of them from Ilfracombe 8 weeks ago. We were tacking along at 20 knots, like, and his screen was up, and he was seeing everything at 20 knots, like, and I just said, Paul, I said, why? I said, how come mine just...
Is it like a cat? Is it a catamaran?
No, I don't think it is.
Right,
no.
okay.
But he said it's because he just said, well, he said it's because you got. He said it's because I got a really decent through setup. So I'm hoping that I'll get a little bit more of that.
So 20 knots, mine starts graining.
Okay.
But I can still mark bait. Yeah. I can still mark.
Whereas with the transducers at the back,
30 knots, no chance. No. But like if I'm running it 15, 16, 17, you can still see 15, 16. It's a good screen. As soon as I start pushing over 20, I start getting the graining. But you can still go, bait ball, and you'll still mark it in the bottom absolutely perfect.
Because what I would get frustrated with is like at 10, 12 knots when they're hanging out when the transducers are hanging out the back, you're already starting to lose quality on it. Like, and actually 10, 12 knots is just your standard sort of speed. That's what sort of speed you're going at, when at any given point, unless it's really rough out there. Like, I mean, that's quite a nice speed.
I'm either doing 4 knots or 25 knots. Yeah. There is no,
that's right.
I either come down the river doing 4 knots if River Dart authorities are listening, because of course I obey the 6 knot speed limit every single time I go out. But as soon as I go past those castles, blip, as fast as I can get that boat going, I'm off somewhere.
So that's literally just been done this week, and I've just been told that my boat's going back in the water on Friday. So as soon as I can get out, I'm looking forward to seeing how that.
Did you watch him drilling the holes in the boat?
No.
I went and watched having the holes drilled in the bottom of the boat. I'm like, you sure that's in the right place? Are we happy it's actually going there? Yeah, it's a weird experience having holes drilled in your boat.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean you've got to put trust in people. I mean, at the end of the day, this is what I said to Ash today. I said hopefully it's all right. It's not going to sink. He said we want you to come back and spend some more money.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. Yeah, both sunk. So what's your go-to when you're out there sea fishing? Do you have one particular thing you like to do? Are you happy?
No, I mean I'm fairly ambidextrous. I mean we've had. It all felt that the bass were late this year. We discussed this a couple of times. So we'd normally be targeting some bass and some pollock and stuff like that. But the bass, we feel were a bit late this year, so we ended up doing a bit of bait fish. We had some great success. You know, we had one day we had 70 black bream on my boat, 70 of the bloody things.
How are you fishing for them?
Twin hook rigs with squid.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean that's really the only way you're going to get up. You do catch them on a lure occasionally, but not enough.
They've got well as well, don't they?
Oh, they're fabulous.
Angry
yeah,
little fuckers.
Yeah, they're just fabulous. There's a lot of them, off of Exmouth in spots. If you know where they are, not telling.
We'll get the drop ins later.
So yeah, it's a bit ambidextrous. I'm now heading into the winter. I would like to do a bit of pollock fishing, really. And I eat a bit of fish, so I occasionally take a bit of fish for the table, but I don't take everything I catch.
A lot of it's released into if you can go back, it goes.
If it goes back, if you're out, if you're out at depth, you've got to understand that they blow up. But I never waste anything anyway. If I've got several fish that have blown up, I'll of course keep myself some, and I'll give some away too. So.
Do you sit at anchor much? Do a lot of ray fishing, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been very successful. I've had rays off of there, but I haven't been very successful on the ray fishing. I mean, probably because I haven't quite sorted out the marks yet, So
Run up the scaries.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the scaries, I'm afraid. I mean, they're just.
Are you not?
No, not really.
Yeah. £21 turbo was caught up there.
In the festival.
Price.
Did you?
Yeah.
What, for turning up?
No, for catching a 6 pound 4 ounce bass, but it's like that on inshore.
Okay, so did you shore fish it or boat fish it?
I caught it off a reef off of Exmouth in the boat, but it wasn't off a wreck, so it got it done the percentage. I mean, it's incredible. I never thought for 1 minute you'd get a prize with a 6 pound, but not any bass were caught that year. It's the year before last. This year I didn't do very well at all. I had loads of fish, but just nothing that was.
Do you know Simon at Hooks?
No.
The tackle shop in Torquay. This is an amazing story. So he caught that bass. I want to say it was £17. It was up there. It was £14 or £17. Can't remember.
Is this the one that was a year or two ago?
Yeah, a year or two
I think
ago.
It was 17.
Well, 17. Absolute lump of a fish. Brought it all in the live well. Went to weighed it all in. Went to put it back. It just wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
Dispatched it. Put it in the freezer. He was going to have it taxidermied. Biggest fish he's ever caught. This is an ex-rod in line commercial bass fisherman.
Yeah.
Caught loads. This is his biggest ever bass. Chucked it in the freezer. Going to get it taxidermied. Goes in a couple of days later. Where's my bass gone? His mate had been in and filleted it up. That's it.
Can you imagine? I'd be furious.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. Yeah, he's still not over it now. 2 years, 3 years later.
Pissed, wouldn't you?
I never really done well for really big bass. I mean, I beat my personal best this year. I had a bass which I weighed when I got home, so he'd have been a bit bigger, but he weighed 11.4 when I got home, which is a big bass.
Is that on lures or on live bait?
I was on a lure.
Yeah. Do you generally lure for them? Because I like live baiting for them.
For live baiting. The only thing is when you got limited time.
To get the bait in the first place.
It's getting the bait. We know what the commercials do. We know exactly what they do and where they go. But they set out early, it's a living. I mean, a lot of the time I've got to cater for someone else. So before I get out the boat, I mean, sometimes it's 9 o'clock in the morning before I'm actually out on sea, out at sea, and then to bugger around and waste 2 hours getting live baits, and especially now this time of year, when the days are shorter, it becomes more difficult. So
the bait was tricky this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, really tricky. I haven't done a lot. I think I've done one trip for bass.
You waste hours just trying to find the bait. So
I tend to just suck it in sea, at the end of the day. If the wrecks are fishing, when I get a food, I don't need. I'm not commercial. I don't need to catch 300 bass every time I go out. It's simple as that. Actually, if they're fishing, I'll work away with lures and pick up 1 or 2 fish like that. But when I've had days out there when it's just everything's fallen together. I remember one day we were just drifting off the end of this wreck. I was just full of bass, and literally 50 yards off the end of the wreck, mackerel. That's what I saw. It was absolutely fabulous. We just literally drift off the wreck, fill your bucket up with mackerel again, bang through, and have another half a dozen bass.
Last September we had a real good run on them. Me and my mate, Captain Blank again, would jump on my boat. He'd finish work. We'd jump on the boat, leg it down to Dartmouth Castle. We'd do 5 drifts through there. Joey mackerel that size, absolutely perfect. Just coming up with full strings, lug them all in the live well, slam it up to start, and just start getting drifts in. And we're bass. We're just hitting them
Yeah, lovely.
Wait until it was dark, until you couldn't see. Just as you've got the day marker up on the end of Dartmouth. If I couldn't see that, it was time to go home.
Yeah.
You know, I knew I'd be coming up the river in the dark. But
And it's not nice navigating the river in the dark, is it?
I grew up on the River Dart. I don't mind it. I'm not too bad, especially because I'm in Nos Marina.
Right.
So all I've got to do is come into Dartmouth. It's all fully lit up.
Yeah.
You just go past the hire ferry. There's all the lights of the marina. Straight in.
Yeah,
on
I
my
mean, I
mooring.
wouldn't like. I've done it in the dark on the opposite side of the river when I do swing mooring up on Shelley Beach side. I've done it in the dark there. Didn't enjoy it.
Have you got radar?
No.
I've recently put radar on my boat, and we launched after I had it all fitted. Had it fitted down at Tonto Marine in Gampton, and it's tidal in there. So I had to go pick it up in the evening, and it was just getting dark, and I had to come. I was like the Stoke Gabriel side of Ditson, and I had to come all the way down through the moorings, and it was like the yachts are appearing out of the dark as you're on them. Had my radar on, you could see them.
Right,
you
yeah,
could just see
right,
everything. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
off you go. Great bit of kit.
Yeah.
Absolutely great bit of kit. Best money I've spent.
Yeah, I mean, I've toyed with it. You know, I only had this boat in less than a year now, and it's already just been in for that's about £5,000 worth of work now.
Just by the Doppler,
But it's not inconceivable that I wouldn't consider that for next year.
£1,700. I mean, in fishing terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice Doppler up on the top. All connects straight to, especially with the Axiom. It's got the
Well,
it's all Wi-Fi now, isn't it?
When I'm out with the marina in the summer months, I'm fine.
Would you like a beverage?
Would you like a water, Mark?
No, I'm perfectly fine. Yeah.
I'll really want a beer.
Well,
Could you?
so if we're going to break for a second, I could add a piss if you've got a toilet.
Yeah. Crack on. We'll just through that door.
Yeah.
Through the next door.
You'll see it right in front
And
of
it's
you.
on the left-hand side. Crack on. We'll just leave it running and just carry on, mate. Honestly, I cannot believe those trousers. When
Oh,
did
no,
you...
Mark, behind you.
No, that door there.
Yeah.
Go through that other one.
That's it.
That's it. When did you think those trousers were a good idea?
I'm going from my Limp Biscuit age, you know. I mean, it's like
More like limp-wristed. I wouldn't say limp-biscuit. Honestly. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. It's,
Thanks, Aaron.
I just didn't see you as an Adidas red tracky wearing,
Got blue ones as well.
especially with the gilet. It's not really the look I was thinking. I know what brand it is.
And a redneck T-shirt as well, because I am
What
red.
does that, I can't understand that sort of writing. What does that say?
Redneck.
Well, you're not really a redneck, are you? It's his brand. It's my brand. I'll tell you what, that draft's lovely coming through that door. But yeah, oh god, these San Miguel's. I just never thought you would. I didn't see you as the tracky type.
I'm just a man of many
It's time of the
surprises,
month
Andrew.
or something. Is it? You just needed a little bit of give in the.
Sometimes you've got to build your life up with a bit of colour, Andrew, you know? Like your little red locks, I thought, well, I'm going to...
That's ginger.
We'd
I didn't build this up. I was born with it, mate. I am generally black on black, to be honest. Most of what I wear.
yeah, me too, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen you in such a like a.
I thought I'd just spice it up a bit. I'm a peacock. I'd just bring a bit of life.
Well, you're the tail end of that word.
I'm not clipping that, by the way.
We're not clipping any of this out. This is all just going to roll. I'm telling you now. I just honestly, they're like, I could get both legs down them trousers.
Yeah, quite big.
Yeah, they are quite big.
I've got to tuck the back in the sock so it doesn't step on it. Because there's nothing more annoying than seeing like when it goes under your feet.
How long have you had them?
Yeah, what?
I just thought you'd lost a bet.
We are back.
Okay, thank you.
So I've got a question. What's the hat all about?
Well, there you go.
Here we go. This ties in nicely.
This ties in nicely with my boat. When I bought my boat, everybody wants to name their boat, don't they?
My boat's called Chinese Dave.
This is actually quite a good story. So I spent a little bit of time researching things. I said, what can I call my boat? I mean, everybody's got a boat called Mary Jane or fucking so and so and so and so. All the common names and their wives' names and stuff like that. But I've always been interested in a bit of history. And the Dumnonii were the local tribe for Devon and Cornwall in pre-Christ. So
Were they really?
so I thought to myself, How am I calling it?
How do you pronounce it?
The Dumnoney Warrior.
Dumnoney Warrior.
Yeah.
I got the warrior bit. It was a top
a bit of a bastard to do on the.
I'm really dyslexic. I've been staring at that for how long we've seen. I wonder what that actually says. Too many M's, N's, O's, and I's.
So I renamed it, and then of course, as part and parcel of that, I bought half a dozen. Well, my father bought me a hat actually for a little gift when I got the boat. He gave me this hat, and since then I bought half a dozen. Like, you know, and anybody that comes on the boat, I give them a little hat. Like, you know, because I don't charge people. I like going out with people, so people, you know, I share my boat out too. You know, people want to come fishing. You've been out on the other one, and you know, you'll come out.
We need to do a meet, but when we get a break in the weather, we'll come down to you guys and we'll meet and we'll just do a bit of shenanigans out there and we'll just go for a bit
shenanigans.
Not
on them trousers.
Not on them trousers. Not allowed in my fucking boat. Which
good gust of wind. If you're a bit lighter, it'll have you off, mate.
Well, the trouble is, it was rumours, wasn't it? You know, at the end of the day, it was a gay bloke.
They say that about Andy anyway, mate, so don't worry about that.
So yeah, that's what it is. So I called my boat the Dumnoney Warrior.
I like that.
I thought it was unique. The other day I was up Ash Marine. They got my boat out.
There's another one, is there?
And there's another one up there.
Oh, what a...
It's not called Dumnoney Warrior. It's called Dumnoney. But clearly he had the same idea as me. You know, I mean, it's. You know, so.
I love that bit of history about it, though. That was the tribe.
Yeah.
Blissfully unaware that I'm going to go and look that up.
And I was, you know, I've always been proud of my roots here in Devon. Look, you know, I'm a Devonshire boy through and through. You know,
I'm a bit of an immigrant. I came down from Bristol.
Right, yeah. Well,
but I came down in '92. I was
another 30 years.
10. I was 10. I'm now 43, so I've been here a while.
Yeah,
but
another 30 years, you might sort of been.
Well, we moved into Stoke Gabriel. Up to recently, I was still the newest of the friend circle, even though we've been mates and been through secondary school and everything else together, known each other 30 odd years. I was still the newest recruit.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so it's a Devon thing though, that isn't it?
I mean, Devon's just an incredible place, isn't it? You know, once you get outside the cities, and the cities are just depressing. But once you get outside the cities and you're out in these little country lanes and there's miles and miles of land and
just those rolling hills,
and those rolling
trees.
hills. Yeah, it's just incredible. Yeah, it is absolutely.
You can just go for a walk, just get lost.
Yeah.
I love Devon. I used to like leaving Devon. I went through a stage of I worked away, went to London, went to Essex, went back to Bristol for a little while because I just thought, I can't get on with this Devon stuff. No.
Now you're nearly there.
I'm there.
Yeah, you haven't got the full qualifications yet. You know, another 30 years.
Yeah, another 30 years if I've got that in me. Yeah, another 30, 40, 50, 40, 50, 73 years old. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
But now, I mean, just coming down here tonight, when you come down over here and you just see that view, I mean, it's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, you know, that's what you've got in Devon.
When you drive in, you see the bay as you're coming down the hill.
Flat as a piece of glass it was when we came down the hill. Literally, not a ripple on it.
It looks like that as you go and stand on the beach and it's doing that. It catches me out a few times. I leave the house, I'll poke my head out the Velux, go, that looks flat.
Well, it's easy to get caught out now, isn't it? You look at all the weather forecasts, they say it's going to be blowing 10 to 12, and you get out there and it's blowing fucking 20, like, you know. And
the problem that it gets me, I'll drive over the seafront and I'll clock it, I'll go, oh, that's flat. Pay no attention to which way the wind's blowing. Yeah. Other side of Berry Head, it's coming in sideways. You just like you come out the end of the river, you just start doing this. Nope, back in again we go. But the bay with Berry Head just gets
the lee of the land, like
yeah, it's nice. So you're also with Exeter District Angling Club, as the strategy officer. Strategy. I knew it had a in it somewhere.
I suppose. I've been blessed. I've had a whole life in angling. Like, you know, my old job, how I've sort of organised my life has been to be able to afford to fish and to be able to find the time to fish.
That's the two biggest problems with angling: affording it, because you're literally just throwing money in water, and time.
Yeah. So that's why that was one of the main reasons why I chose the profession that I'm in. Like, because one, it afforded me the time, and then of course I had a company that had generated turnover. Companies are not so friendly towards directors anymore. Like, you know, unless you turn over vast amounts of money, it's very difficult. But that being said, it's managed to get me this far in life, and I've had a pretty good run of it. Like, you know, I mean, I've been abroad, I've been around the world fishing. Like, you know, I've been to Oman, and bloody Norway, Iceland, and had some
What are
fun.
you doing in Oman? Like GT fishing?
GTs, yeah, mahi, the bream over. They got this bream over there. I can't think what the.
Dave, remember Dave was saying go and target the
I've got so Dave Mordecai. This is
No, Dave
Dave Lewis.
said about go and try the bream over there, not just the GT.
The bream. Look, I mean, to be fair, the bream on surface lures is just incredible. And these are just, they're like fucking £10, like, and they're aggressive. It's hell, like, you're just pulling these little poppers along, and then
This is what I get from Dave Mordecai the other day. Who's up for coming out to Oman with me? Flights are £200. Sounds amazing in principle. When you're trying to swing it past the missus and kids, hard one to do.
I went with the no boundaries.
Look at that.
Big black GT, it's mental, mate.
I went with the no boundaries setup.
No boundaries at Oman.
Yeah, and they're the best ones, really. I mean,
So
it's not cheap.
That was like a guided trip.
It's a guided trip, and it's going to cost you several £1,000s if you're going out there for 10 days. So
They are the boys over there.
That's accommodation. That's flights.
everything's top of the
They
range.
supply all the kit as well.
Supply all the gear. Feed you. Look after you. Just generally.
What are they
called? No boundaries.
Stick that up. Let's have a quick mooch. I love looking at this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're top of the range, absolutely top of the range. You see the footage that they got; it's just incredible, like. But you could go. Yeah, I mean, the fishing in Oman is just in around that area. Like, there's lots of fishing. You can wing it. And I know people that have winged it and had some really good times out there. Like, but if you want the GTs and you want the breaming, you've got to get out and you got to
Guys who are doing it day in and day out, they know the
bream
marks.
fishing. Do you know what?
No boundaries Oman fishing.
Yeah, I'd like to have a look at that.
Yeah.
So what pulled you into that? You just thought,
Well, as I said, I got a group of friends who are all sort of retired surgeons and that, and my first abroad trip was 20 odd years ago. Where I got invited to fish. In Africa, I'm trying to think where it was. You see all these bloody Jeremy Wades and all that go, like, I mean, we were going places like that, like, I mean, before these guys was even there sometimes, and my friend John would always set up these trips and always invite me along, like, so I just started going.
just started tagging along.
Because I had the business, and me and the wife worked together in the business, like, it was always difficult for us both to be away. So what I tend to do is my wife and
There you go.
My wife and daughter would go away. They'd have a family holiday somewhere, like go away for a couple of weeks to Disney or wherever they wanted to go, Turkey or something like that, and then I'd be able to
Chuck on trophies.
have a trip. I mean, he's got this fabulous setup, incredible.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Oh, that geezer's got a beard, isn't he?
Oliver, yeah, mental.
You know him, do you?
I know, yeah, he's one of the Costa guys, yeah.
Look at some of these bloody things. Look, I mean,
Yeah, I'd like some of that in my photo album.
that's a brief. Incredible. You could take, I mean, these are actually, they're so well set up there. They've got a mothership, like, so when actually, this is the sort of place you could take your missus. If they like, if they like sunshine and the sea. I mean, I was out there one day and we went over the shoulder parrot fishing. I mean, it was
Go
about
to the lodges, please.
So for the listeners, we're just,
I'm just eyeing up my next holiday.
for the guys that are listeners,
yeah.
for the guys that are listeners, we just got up on the TV at the No Boundaries website. We're just checking out their information on there.
Oh, she's not going to buy that.
stay on the boat.
Oh, she won't go on the boat.
No, they got the big mothership.
Motherships, yeah.
If I turned up and told my missus we were going on a boat for a holiday, I'd never hear the end of it.
It's very, very hot. Uncomfortably hot most of the time. But the food is incredible, and the fishing's incredible too. Yeah. And it's just such diverse fishing.
Meet the fleet.
It's somewhere where I would have dearly loved to go.
That's the mothership.
If I put Jess on that for a holiday, she'll cut my balls off.
Well, we did,
I look at that for a big open centre console.
they never had the mothership when we were over there. So we were out on these, like we stayed in the lodges and just went
So
out
what
on
we
these.
got? Blackcurrant, blackcurrant, the salty sea dog,
That's a 42-foot centre console.
a 32-foot centre console. the Neptuna.
Not Chinese Dave though, is it? Reef.
That's it, mate.
24 foot. Yeah, they're set up, aren't they?
Oh, very
Heavy
well set
metal.
up.
There's one for you.
Fucking yeah.
No red trackies.
So yeah, that was a fabulous trip.
Yeah, I bet, man.
I've been to Africa a few times. Mozambique was good. Yeah, we just hook fish there. You can't stop.
I've
Like bronze whalers and stuff like that off the shore.
Yeah, well, and reef fish, like we bait fishing for reef fish, like they have these. When you go abroad, they have they call species different names. You just don't recognise them. Like they had these fish, they were called potato bass. Yeah, they didn't look fuck all like a bass. They weighed about 400 kilos. Like you chuck a fucking head down.
Cops, yeah.
You chuck down a yellowfin head or something like that. Like you literally it would be going through the water and then it would hit the bottom and then all of a sudden you just see it just go like that and you pick up into it and it should be fishing heavy gear, so similar to what the tuna fishing is like, fucking 150 pound gear, like, and they literally just pull the rod over, fucking wrap it over to the gun hose, like, zzz, it's gone. Take it, everything. Don't fucking can't stop it. Just can't stop it. Everything, your fucking reels are smoking. Just incredible. Mind blowing fishing.
Yeah.
I saw people that have caught massive fish, and they were just getting frustrated by some of these fish and how they were just ripping off. Like you just couldn't do anything. They're in the reef, so they're running through the reef as well. Like which is obviously a recipe for disaster with a big fish. But exciting fishing.
Yeah, I need to pull my finger out and do a whole bunch more of that.
Yeah.
Time for next year.
One of my friends caught. We did some beach fishing as well. That was interesting. Guitar fishing, these horrible fucking catfish type things with spikes all over them. I didn't particularly like them. But on the last night, one of my friends caught a massive, great big leopard ray. It's just incredible looking thing. Like fucking as big as this table. Just
little short tail, isn't it? But really big, wide body spotty.
Yeah, incredible fish. Just incredible. He said, I got one. He's out in the surf, like, he said, I got one. I said, what have you got? He said, I know. He said, but you're going to have to come and fucking hold me because it's going to drag me in. I've been lucky enough to experience that type of fishing. I've been to Scotland and fished with a big skate. Been to Norway fishing for the cod and the co-fish, a big cod, big co-fish.
White sturgeon as well?
Sturgeon. I went to, that was a family holiday. That was a good one. You might like that. That's something your missus would go for.
Norway.
No, Canada.
Canada.
Those huge white sturgeon that you see tail walking 250 pounders, like.
Yeah.
Madness.
I went to.
I struggled. Yeah.
Well, no. What
She's
I did,
very much 5 stars, all inclusive.
Yeah. Well, this is what I did there because I went to Canada for 3 weeks, which was I think the year before last. And I owed everybody a family. I owed everybody a family holiday. We got the stage in life now where we can sort of manipulate a family holiday here and there. So we decided to go to Canada. I've got a cousin in Canada I'd never met. So we sort of tied it all. We tied it all in, and then I'm not going to go away on holiday with my family and not get some fishing. That's just even the wife. She understands that now. So I said, look, can we have a couple of days on the Fraser River? So we went with. I'm trying to think what the company was called now. Giant. River Jump Fishing Adventures or something like that. I can't remember, but it was top of the range. You had like one of these funny old fucking tent things, like big ones.
Yes.
Like a yurt, but it's all. It is 5 stars, 10 star. This stuff it's just incredible. Right on the bank of the river, and the Fraser's just It's a magnificent river. Like the water's just sort of got this milky look to it, but it's powerful and it's fast. And they got these sort of big flat bottom fucking speedboats and hack out into
jets, isn't it? Jet boats, aren't they?
Yeah. And fishing for sturgeon. And there's just one on my phone. That's right. That's one. Get rid of that shit.
Gigantic, aren't they?
So
Is it classified as the biggest freshwater fish? The white sturgeon could be
I have
the
no
biggest.
idea.
I think they're pretty sure that at capacity they are the recognised as the biggest freshwater fish you can catch.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to take that's a bloody parking thing, but that's the one of the sturgeon that I had. Like, I mean, I had one of they estimated to be 300 pounds. It's just incredible.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
And it's brutal fishing. You know, it's
How are you fishing for those?
£2 lead, at least a £2, maybe a
Just a whole bottom.
£4 lead, with just a bit of fish bait or a bit of roll bait or something
They
like
put it
that.
in like tights, don't they? Like a boilie. They make like a boilie out of tights, which holds your bait down like salmon eggs or bits of salmon. Just literally fish like.
And so you'd spend the day in the canyons on the Fraser River, like, and I mean, the view's just stunning, and there's bears and eagles and all that shit, like, and every so often you just get this bite, like, and you're looking at something and it's just fucking hell, and it's 300 pound and it's jumping like 6 foot out of the water. It's just
No sturgeon did that.
Yeah. You watch it on YouTube, it's just absolutely mental.
worth it. I mean, definitely worth having a go, and and because the fishing over there is very, very good, so you don't need to go there for 10 days to fish for sturgeon, like, and actually you could go and hire that. What we did was we hired that top of the range, I think for three days, and went fishing, and the wife and daughter absolutely loved it. They loved it, and then we went off and travelled all the way down through Canada, hired a car, and just travelled all the way through Canada.
It's a hard life, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to make life, haven't you?
So from high end Canadian fishing for sturgeon back to Exeter angling.
Yeah. So
how did that come about?
I always felt that I wanted to give back. I always felt that angling's given me a lot. It's kept me focused. I mean, what would I have been if I didn't have angling in my life? I don't know. Probably a drug addict, a smackhead, or a drunk. I mean, I don't know. Like, angling's kept me away from all those. Things, and I've met so many good people for angling. People that I've known all my life. Like, and I would say, and I'm sure you'll back it up. Like, overwhelmingly 99% of the people that I've met in my life as an angler, they're pretty decent people. Like, they've got the bug. They're compulsive. Like, sometimes competitive. Like, in the day you can have a bit of a banter on a boat.
There's nothing wrong with being competitive.
No,
You've got to be competitive to get somewhere in life.
And I was watching what was happening with our fisheries, and I was thinking to myself, well, I had interest with Trews Weir, which I'd been battling with the Environment Agency and the powers that be about all sorts of issues there with the river quietly on my own. So there was it's a bit like a double-edged sword. So I thought to myself, what? How can I position myself to have a little bit more of an influence with regards to these type of things? So I offered my services to the Angling Association.
Had you done a lot of fishing on there before this? Or?
Yeah, I'd always been a member. Always been a member. I mean, the tench fishing. I mean, the Exeter Canal's a fabulous water. It's hard. It's not for the faint-hearted, But
It's not a commercial fishery. It's a proper fishery.
It's a proper fishery. Yeah, I mean, it's got big carp. It's got big tench. It's got big everything in there. But you're not. If you think you're going to go down there and bag up and catch 3 big ones every day, that's not going to happen. The carp anglers, I don't know if you ever carp fished the Exeter Canal, but the carp anglers, they'll tell you, success is hard won. Like, there, you could spend days and days and days and not get anything, and then get that fish of your dreams.
Yeah.
So I'd always fished the Exeter waters anyway, and I was always well known within the club and locally in the angling scene. I had a bit of spare time. And I was just looking at the club and thinking to myself, what can we do there? It's a sad state of affairs, really. But angling associations, everybody seems to want to take now, and they don't want to put back in. Angling associations, they're non-for-profit organisations. Generally, you've got a lot of people, and I can tell you this, and on art, having been there for over 3 years. It's run by a core group of people, who just dedicate all their spare time to digging holes and fucking and stocking ponds and stuff like that, and Facebook, the great tool that is, it's just an absolute bastard, because it opens you up to all these hotspots that just want to criticise everything.
It's a cesspit at times.
And it is, and I've found that I got no time for it. I really haven't. When Daddy helped out with the social media on the club. And we used to talk about this very often. You get 10 people give up their Saturday. and they go and do all this work at this pond and pick up all this shit that people had left there before, and stock it, repair some things, and generally work hard, give up all their day, and then you get some toss back over. You just come on there and put some negative post about it. Like, you think yourself, well, hang on, you joined a club which gives you access to fucking miles and miles of waters, miles and miles of lake, like for very little money. Like if it's less than £1 a day.
How much is the ticket on there for the year?
Well, the ticket's going to go up this year. It's going to go up to £70 this year.
70 quid.
But it's 70 quid to access any one of our any one of our waters, and we've got some.
Me and the missus went for lunch today, and it cost me more than 70 quid for lunch for 2 of us.
Yeah. That's the start. That's the stark reality of it, like, and we're always trying to improve things. Like, and every year costs have gone up, rents have gone up, and of course, angling, as it's sort of modernised itself, people are a bit more. The requirements they're a bit more needy with regards to their fishing. Whereas years ago we'd be happy sitting on the fucking river on the side of the river with a rock, nowadays.
Now they want a wood chip swim. They want to be able to get the car there.
Yeah, that's right, and a toilet right beside, and they want to be able to ring up the volunteer bailiff every day of the fucking week, 24 hours a day, and ask him questions about it, and all that type of shit, which is fine. Nobody really minds that. But then to couple that with all the people that are putting in all the hard work voluntarily, to suddenly end up with a diatribe of shit. One of our best ones, and it's a contentious issue. I have no problem with people like
contentious. I hear it.
But we've got catfish in the Exeter Canal.
Yeah,
they fucking shouldn't be there. But aside from that, it's illegal. We've been told by the Environment Agency that we must get them out. The Environment Agency suspended our stocking permits on the Exeter Canal. And told us that we had to get them out. Then they told the club 10 years ago that they had to get them out, and they didn't make any efforts to it. So they again wrapped our knuckles when I was in charge. So we spoke about this, how we were going to manage this, and of course we then told our members, look, if catfish are invasive species, they're not allowed to be there. They're not allowed to be in the Exeter Canal. It's a triple SI. The Environment Agency have pulled us up about it. You catch a catfish, you've got to call one of us, keep it, and we'll rehome it because we've got a water that we can put them in. And the fucking flack that we got because of that.
How much flack did we get for that?
Just fucking shitloads. People just people coming on, you bunch of Gestapo bastards, and you think, hang on, we've got an association that people are trusting us to look after. It's been around 100 fucking years. It hasn't been around for 100 years by not abiding to the law of the land. And the law of the land says to us quite fucking clearly, they're an invasive species. We've got an instruction from the Environment Agency to remove them. We have to abide by that. It's not personal. It's not me. It's not Danny. It's not anybody else in the committee. How else do people expect us to run their association?
And what we had at the time was, I was president of the club at the time. Between me and Mark ran the social media, and we were only doing what was instructed of us, weren't we? By the government law, and like I say, whether you agree with the catfish or you disagree with the catfish,
neither here nor there, is it?
It doesn't. It makes no difference. We got the blunt end, didn't we? Me and you particularly got the blunt end because we were the social media guys and we were the known characters locally. Christ, I was getting them coming to the shop and moaning at me. The emails and the texts and the messages that were aimed personally at me and Mark, about stuff that we're just doing our duty as president of the club, as strategy officer of the club, and I felt very times where, although we wouldn't dare kind of attack back at them as such, but I found sometimes it made very uncomfortable reading when there's people that you knew that were holding us accountable for stuff or belittling us or being aggressive towards us for stuff that we're just figureheads of something. That there's a much bigger picture behind it, and I don't think Joe Boggs Public realised the restraints and the restrictions that were placed upon me. You sat there with the Environment Agency and had one-to-one meetings about you cannot continue until you do something about it. But the public didn't see me and you sitting there talking with officials about what they're going to do to us if we don't.
How many did you have to take? How many have you taken?
We've got to take them out all out. Every time one gets caught, it's supposed to come out.
How many have been taken out so far?
2.
Because lads want to catch them, so they just let them
Well,
go.
I mean, this is quite good because if any of the Exeter District Angling say, look, I'm not fucking shy. I can take a bit of shit. So at the end of the day, we changed the rules. We made it quite clear that if we catch anybody returning a catfish, now that they know, and they've been known now, they know for if we catch anybody, and somebody will slip up in a minute, we know they've been caught this year, and we know they've gone back. Somebody's going to slip up in a minute, and they're just going to be on the receiving end of the biggest fucking ban this club's ever introduced, and they won't fish our waters again. And we're going to do that because we have no choice. The other stark reality is that the Environment Agency could put an enforcement notice on us, come in, drain the canal, electrofish it, probably kill all the carp while they do it because they have to pump it right up because catfish are right on the bottom. And
all the specimen carp, all the specimen pike.
And stick us with a bill. That's not
How many do they think's in there?
We don't know, but there are a few.
Do you know when they were stocked?
We've got ideas. I mean, there's something we can't talk about here, but we know who did it. We pretty much know who did it. And
somebody slipped a couple in there, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, fish movement's been happening forever, and
happens in all ponds. Used to happen at racks. People are always moving fish from here to there.
And realistically, I haven't got an issue. The only issue I got is that I'm an official of the Exeter District Angling Association, and we've had a legal instruction as to what we should do with catfish. It's not my fault. I have got, my personal concern is that as water temperatures increase, which they have been, those fish are now spawning in the Exeter Canal. They've been catching kittens. The odd kitten have been caught and things like that. That you may end up with a really tragic scenario, like these fish actually just overrun it.
Just start eating everything.
And it's also a watercourse that is connected to wild watercourses in a triple SSI. We already know of various issues in that.
Triple SSI?
Special scientific interest.
Stop banging the table.
Sorry. But yeah, it's a real tough one, and I felt that as a club, personally, and as the club, I think the club got a lot of flack. Like I say, it's by the by whether you agree or disagree on it. But take that away from it. I feel that those sort of issues we were all treated as a club and personally. Yeah. Sometimes unfairly by people that didn't quite understand the full picture behind, and I think it's great to talk about it because it isn't spoken about, is it? People don't realise the personalities and what goes in behind a run in a club, and I think us talking about this now, although we don't want to open a can of worms, but it's there, and I think it's nice. It's nice
balance. We've got a club that's got 1,200 or so members, and every one of those members has an idea as to how things, has an idea of how things run. But I mean, actually, when it comes,
none of them want to run it.
They don't want to run it. We just had our AGM. How many people turned up? 25. It was the positions were offered up as they are. Everybody steps down every year, and the positions are offered up. Democratic, as democratic as you can possibly be. How many people put their hand up? Nobody. That's what happens. They just want to take their fishing, and they want to run it. But that's fine. If you're going to want to take your fishing for your 70 quid fishing a year, then just keep your fucking mouth shut. And at the end of the day, but you can't expect us to run it for you and look after it. Because I get, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be critical about my position with the club because I actually enjoy it because the positives far outweigh the negatives. We did a work party at one of our ponds this Saturday just gone, the Harper's complex, and one of our guys, Rolly Palmer, the junior. He uses that complex to teach youngsters how to fish and stuff like that. So we try not to close down waters when we're doing work parties if we can avoid it, because obviously people want to fish, especially on the weekends, which is normally the good time when you can get a few people to help. So that particular day, we're at that work party, and one of the guys who's brought in a couple of kids, towards the end of the day, he comes over and he starts having a chat with us. He says, "You've done a fabulous job. Can I give you some money?" I said, "Well, no, you can." He said, "Can I give you some money to contribute?" I said, "Well, no." I said, "Your license fee covers all that." I said, "That's part and parcel of what we do." Like, I mean, thanks ever so much. I mean, just the appreciation is really, really. We're really grateful that somebody's seen it and appreciated it. Like, and then about a half hour later, we were just tidying up, and the guy's gone off and bought a crate of beer and a load of bars of chocolate. Like, he just left them there for us, and I just thought to myself, "Do you know what?
It's a nice touch, isn't it?
Well, it just goes to show you that it's not all bad. Like, actually, there are.
The problem with the negative, the problem with those people that
They shout
negative,
loudest, don't they?
they shout the loudest. It's heard the most, isn't it? It's
Especially on social media.
Don't get me started on that. Yeah.
And that's and it takes you really have got to have quite broad shoulders to be able to take that on board day in day out. Like, and of course, I've been involved really with a lot of the controversy all the way through it myself, and I've had my fair share of it.
Exeter have got those two little ponds past Clumpton by the railway station.
Sanford Ponds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Nice
where the
little
catfish are.
Is that where they've put them?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only legal venue that's the EA have agreed.
The one next to the motorway where you got to walk up the side of the dual carriageway and come down those stairs.
There's a 34-pounder in there.
I guessed it that a few times. I'm not going to lie to you. I did guess that a few times. It was pouring down with snow, and I heard there was some carp in there, and I thought... I actually went to buy my ticket from the lady in the train station, but there was nobody there, so I went, okay. Guessed
There's
it.
no excuses now, is there? When it's all online now, so
Well, this was a few years ago, but there was some lovely carp in there. But every single one I caught, you could tell they'd been
Give
otted.
me your address later. We'll send you.
Send me a bit, it's fine. I don't mind. I'll chip in. But yeah, it's a lovely because weren't they something to do with the steam trains? They were water impulse to the steam
This is what
train.
I've been told is that they were there when they drew out water for the trains. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that story. Because
But
the
they're
one by the
lovely
side of the
ponds.
motorway is really snaggy up in that top corner. Yeah, and I wanted to got my photo of a snow carp, but the top of its tail was missing.
Yeah.
Otter dodger. But every single one that I caught in there, it all had tail damage where the otters had been at them. But yeah, they're lovely little ponds.
Beautiful ponds. I mean, and this is what like I said, we talked about the cost of a day ticket, and all right, we're reasonably successful people. I mean, but at the end of the day, you've got to understand there are people that are on budgets. I fully understand there are people on budgets, and their finances. They don't allow them to do the sort of things we do, but a thing like the association does under that broad
£70.
under that broad spectrum, you get access to all of that fishing.
Same at racks with NAFA.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they are.
they're a bit more expensive.
£100, innit?
Yeah, I wouldn't know because I haven't been back after my year ban.
What did you get banned for?
I will tell you the full story, and we can have it all on the podcast. So, and I'll call the chairman out on this. So, there was a guy, you weren't allowed to. The rules were you can't spend more than 48 hours in one swim.
Yep.
I was fishing first pond, and if you're fishing across and somebody wants to go to where you're fishing, you have to retract your lines.
Okay.
Northern guy, nothing against Northerners. Never seen him before down there. I've been doing a proper campaign down on first. There's a lovely common in there. I was after it. Been working my way through. It's about, I don't know what first is, 2 acres, might be 3 at a push. Proper snaggy, deep, under 20 carp in it, load of bream and stuff like that. So you've got to fish through it all. Anyway, matey's been in this one swim for a week.
Right. Yeah.
I've turned up and he's had a go at a few different people, and they're like, every time you go and fish up there, he shouts at you. I thought, right, game on. So I've gone up and I've dropped straight into this swim and I've put my rods out and he starts chirping at me across the lake. So I phoned up my mate and I went, no, I just want to check the rules. If I want to fish this swim and he's fishing across, he's got to retract his lines, hasn't he? Yeah. Perfect. Oh, so I went round to tell him and he's gobbing off at me. And I was just like, look, mate, it says in the rules, A, you can't spend more than 48 hours in a bivvy, in one swim. You've been here a week. I know you've been here a week. I was in there every single day. I'll be in there first thing in the morning, last thing at night. I was pre-baiting. I know you've been in here, and the rule says you've got to retract your lines. We've had a disagreement. I refused to bring my line in, so I've just carried on fishing for a few hours there. Come back the next day, he's still doing it. So I phoned up one of the bailiffs. I went, look, this bloke's been verbally abusive. He won't pull his lines in. I wanted to fish in here. The chairman comes down, talks to him. They're laughing and joking on the other side.
God.
And I thought, hang on a second, like, this bloke's broken multiple rules here. I've come down the third day and he's still there. But he's bumped into me on the towpath. So he started having a go at me and he goes, my mate's here, you're in loads of trouble. I thought, yeah, game on, whatever, like, I'm not scared. Matey boys come out the toilet. it was like giant haystacks coming across. I was like, oh my fuck. Like, I am in for a kick in here. I thought, I'll just take it. You know, I'm not going to back down. I'm standing my ground. Matey boy's like, with nose to nose, he's yelling at me. As he's coming across, I've whipped out my phone and I've phoned Max at Tackle Trader. And I've just stuck it on speakerphone. I've not said anything to him. Matey boy's going nuts. Max has heard all of this. They've sent two other bailiffs down. I'm like, look, man, he's been down there. This has gone on 3 times now. He's been like this with other people. I'm not backing down from this. He's broken multiple rules. Like, if no one's going to stand up to him, I am. Anyway, we end up dragged in front of the committee. They made me write a massive statement. I wrote this huge, great big email. Had to go and stand in front of the committee. No one had the copy of my email. So we had to go through this massive, great talk. They stuck the 2 of us. I walk in the bar. Giant haystacks just sat in the bar. Oh, brilliant. Me and him end up having a couple of pints together. Matey boy, after his bivvy had gone, the patch of grass was so dead, it didn't grow back to the next summer. He had been there for so long. He got a lifetime ban, and me and Matey got a year ban. And I was like, hang on a second. I've stood up to him. There was a lad there, real mild-mannered lad.
I think you'd have got a lifetime ban.
Lifetime ban, yeah.
No, I still would, even if I was going to get a lifetime ban, I still wouldn't have backed down from it.
No.
There was a real quiet, well-mannered lad down there, and Matey boy had been yelling at him, and I just thought, I'm just not having this. I'm not having people shouting at other people. Here's a whole bunch of rules. You can call it as political as you want. I'm not having it. I'm not having buddies. I'm not backing down from somebody. I've been fishing that pond for a year. I never really saw anybody else. There was like 6 of us who all had little pre-baited spots, and you'd see each other and be like, right, and you'd scurry off into your little corner and you do a bit of fishing. He's turned up and I just thought, I'm not having this. I did force the situation, 100%.
Yeah, but he was breaking the rule.
But I was also going to highlight the situation. I blame the chairman entirely. I think he had no backbone at all.
I got banned from Exeter District.
Did you?
Yeah.
I had a lifetime ban. Gee, I don't even know what it was for.
Well, I got a feeling, I can't remember if it was a lifetime ban or not. But very much the same as you. Look, I mean, I know you're not a part of the committee now, but I mean, we don't have none of that shit now. Of course, there's always the sad occasion when you have to discipline somebody for their behaviour, which none of us like to do, but you have to sometimes. But all that, everything's fair here. Like I won't have nothing to do with anything that's not fair. Just because you're a fucking mate of the committee member, I keep telling our committee, if anything, we've got to be whiter than white now. Just because you're a committee member, that doesn't mean that you can go down and fish here when nobody else can. Because we've had all that in the past. That's predominantly that's what clubs were like. Like that was my argument with the Angling Association years ago, and the reason I got banned was to do with the foot and mouth. Remember the foot and mouth?
Yeah.
Well, I was fishing down on the shallow side of the kilns. I used to do a bit of pike fishing down there. Then I was fishing down on the shallow side of the kilns, and I came back and there's a note on my car saying fishing is suspended until further notice. Hang on, it's fucking Exeter Canal. The council were down there fucking working. The club had made this crazy idea that they were going to go out in support of the farmers and suspend fishing. So I rang up the then secretary and expressed my views. I was younger and probably a little bit more aggressive then, and I fully appreciate that. So I ended up having words with him and said, "Well, look, this is just fucking stupid. At the end of the day, you big cock, like you did when you're young."
I was a little bit more tactful when I put my email into the committee. I became Andrew Bolt, CEO and founder, and put my ways across quite tactfully. But
they gave me and one other a lie because we just continued to fish. I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with you. If it's against the law, then obviously clearly there's nothing that can be done about it. But I've got a license, I've paid for it. There is no law stopping people from accessing this. The city council are here, dog walkers are here, so I'm just going to continue to fish. You can give me I did offer them the opportunity to give me a refund. They refused. So I just carried on fishing, and they'd send their bailiffs down. Of course, like I said, I was young and
Roy Goddard, wasn't it?
Oh, Roy Goddard, and all that. He said, "Come on."
I bet you love that.
He said, come on, Mark." He said, "You're now, of course, in a lot of trouble." I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Look," I said, "the point is, Roy," I said, do you not get it?" I fully appreciate what's happening here, but the fucking venue's open. The general public can use it. There are people down there walking their fucking dogs. Like, how can you fucking sensibly say, we're going to close it down because of foot and mouth? Stupid.
That was the late 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I got in trouble on Dartmoor when we went magic mushroom picking. And we were in the fields, and the farmer turned up, and me and my mate are picking away, and he's banging on about foot and mouth, and next thing we've got a park ranger over there. No. He's like, what's your name? I went, Christopher Veal. There's a lad who grew up in Stoke Gabriel. Like, everyone gave Christopher... Sorry, Christopher. I don't know. Yeah. Christopher Veal, and off I went on my merry way. We got a fine coming in the post. Yeah, I remember the film.
So being a chap called Ray Errington. Ray's gone now. He passed away with cancer not I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago. Shame. So I used to fish with Ray a lot. It all sort of transpired around the time that I sort of initially got involved with Trews Weir, because I had to end up having this discussion with the doc, obviously, because I was in the habit of being honest with people. Like, I didn't like people finding out things that I'd kept from them. Like, I'm not a believer in that. Like, you got to be straight with people. Like, whether they like it or whether they don't really like it, it's up to them. Then, how they proceed with things, isn't it? So I had my involvement with Trews Weir to fall back on. So I had somewhere to fish. So when they banned me for life, I had somewhere to fish. But I was very, very bitter. I was very bitter about the way the club dealt with it, because I felt the club didn't deal with it. They never addressed it. I never got invited to any meeting or anything like that. I literally just got banned.
Judge, jury, and executioner, isn't it?
And I understand the reasoning behind that, because obviously I ruffled a few feathers. What I would have liked to have done, and what would happen in this, I'm certain that's what would happen in this case. And these decisions that are not for me. These are, whilst I'm involved in the association, I'm not the one that everything revolves around. Like, it's very much a committee. If a decision comes, but I would like to think that if a situation came like that now, the committee would discuss it. And they probably would have agreed with me. Is that, why are we closing down a venue when we don't need to? Fuck sympathy. Like, at the end of the day, like, I mean, why do we want to do that shit? The fucking dog walkers and the city council aren't being sympathetic towards the farmers. They're still going down there and fucking using it as is their right to do so. Why shouldn't we?
Yeah.
I sat up, but I was very bitter, and I thought to myself, well, how can I pay them back? I did pay them back. So I'm well connected. I got lots of friends, like, maybe not so many since my involvement with the Angling Association, because I'm very much a straight line with it. Like, at the end of the day, I've committed to the Angling Association, so I won't have any shit, and I won't offer any favours either side of the fence. If you're my mate, like, you still got to abide by the rules. As simple as that. Like, I'm not going to turn a blind eye to it. I'll fucking dob you in, same as I'll dob anybody else in. Like, I don't see how you can run an organisation unless you're like that. Like, unless you're straight down the line. But the club, sometime previously, the club was match orientated, so it was run by a lot of match anglers.
That's the problem with NAFA. They hate the carp anglers. I'm stood in front of a committee full of match anglers. I'm done already because I'm a carp angler. You're already
that's
enemy
what it was
number
like.
one.
That's what it was like. And the match anglers had sometime previous to me getting oiked out of the association had banned live baiting on the canal. And I was sat there, and I was thinking to myself, how do I turn this around? I think I got a 5-year ban, I'm not sure about it, but anyway. So I conspired to come back up to the AGM and get voted into a position, and also my very first motion was to reinstate live bait. And for the course of the year prior, like, I was speaking to all my mates, like, I mean, your friends will always help you out, won't they?
You'll get a vote.
So I would say to them, it's important that you turn up. Like, hey, come on, at the end of the day, let's do you agree with what they did to me? And then, overwhelmingly, the members didn't agree with what had happened to me. They didn't agree with it. They felt the same as I did. Like, I mean, you're paying to fish your water. Like, I mean, the only reason you should close it down is if there's a problem with it, or because there's a legal reason to close it down. You can't just close the water down just for the fucking sake of it, just because a couple of farmers have got some dead fucking sheep or whatever it is up in their bastard fields, like, and you feel sorry for them. That's neither here nor there, is it? Just give them some fucking money. I mean, donate to their cause,
That's what the government did. They stepped in, everyone got money anyway.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Before I get pulled over the coals for that one as well.
It's easy to get pulled over the
Yeah,
when you're dragging your stuff.
I keep forgetting this goes out to everybody. Start speaking my mind about people and things, and you end up in all sorts of problems, don't you?
So it was an AGM. It was quite a busy AGM, and I had a lot of support from a lot of friends, and we brought in this motion to bring back live bait, which succeeded. Still there now. You can still live bait on Exeter Canal because of that motion. And then after the committee walked, and then I put my hand up and was put in as water manager. So sort of a few more of them walked, and it just caused a lot of upset. And it was really then at that time that match side of things started to decline, and overwhelmingly, we got quite a diverse group. I'm ambidextrous. I mean, as you know, my preference these days for sea fishing. What the fuck am I doing on a course fishing club association? But it's maybe bread and butter. It's where I grew up.
Like you said, it's nice to give back,
and it's nice to give back. But we got a few carp anglers, and we tend to reach out to people and get opinions about people. We use online stuff and polls and stuff like that.
I think we should be very not we. I'm not in it now, but I mean, I think in our tenure, you were 12 months in front of me, but our stint, I think we changed that club astronomically in a better direction.
It did. And we do get
inclusive of everything and embracing other methods and other styles of fishing and accepting it, but also using the social media to engage with the punters and getting people involved. And I think no matter what anyone says, we moved that club from some match anglers and
we made some decisions, and we still continue to make decisions now that nobody had the backbone to make. They just didn't have the backbone to make. You look at the Kiora ponds, for instance. They'd held on to that water for 20 odd years, right? They pretty much built the ponds. The association invested and gave all the money to this farmer to create these ponds that were supposed to be the jewel in the crown of the Exeter District Angling Association, and the farmer just kept shifting the goalposts. Once they got everybody in, they liked the venue and stuff like that. Then the farmer just kept shifting the goalposts. They were putting the fucking prices up by fucking 10% here and 10% there, and charging and not allowing you the things that you needed. We couldn't have a toilet, we couldn't have a shed, all sorts of shit like that. So I've come onto the committee, and I've started looking at that, because that's really. My acumen's sort of business related, so I look at things from a business perspective, and I look at things that are clearly not working, and how do we improve that? How do we improve them? So I reached out to the landowner, and I said, and I pulled all the documents, and I said, look, this ain't working. It's just not working. I mean, people, the people when we initially dug these lakes, there was permission to put a car park here. East Devon Council refused it. I understand that. But it's a different time now, and they would agree to it now. Can we discuss about that now? No. We've got a little old guy who's best part of 70-year-old here running around with a fucking lawnmower around something that's fucking 4 acres. Can we have some tools there? No. Can we have a shed for some tools? No. Can we have? They wouldn't even let. We were paying fucking best. Was it 7,000 a year rent or something stupid like that? A lot of money for an angling association. Almost certainly our highest, most expensive water. They wouldn't let us in the top gate. They wouldn't even let us in the gate of the field to get the lawnmower repaired. We had to ask permission. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous.
It was a faff at the times when you attended site to deal with that lawnmower. Yeah. What a fucking ball like that was, man.
Is it changed?
We got rid of it. They just kept not offering us.
You take the fish out.
Oh, that was a problem. Yeah, we did take the fish out. We moved on the fish to a contractor. Didn't get as much as we would like for them. The fish had a disease.
Mainline, wasn't it? Took the fish to treat. Mainline?
I'm not sure. I can't remember what it's called.
Mainline's a bait company.
No, they're also there's a different mainline. Yeah.
So we we did take the fish and we owned the fish, but this is fish movement thing. They were shoving things in there from all over the place. When they first built the ponds, and of course they ended up with a parasite in there, with a fairly nasty parasite, which meant that we couldn't move them onto any other water. But it just come push to shove. And it was a very contentious decision. Nobody had the nerve to do it, the backbone to do it in previous committees for years. Like it had been talked about at committee level, but they were terrified about the members. So what we decided to do was we were full and frank with the members. We ended up putting out all our discussions and all the problems that we were getting with the landowner, and then we had a poll and said, look, do you know what? I mean, our opinion is that this has now become untenable for us. It's never going to get any better. You guys are struggling with access to it. We're struggling being able to maintain it. They keep putting the price up every year, and for less. You know, we're getting less out of the venue. They won't allow us to improve it. It's our recommendation that we get rid of it. We put an online poll out to our members, and overwhelmingly 99% of them voted for us to do that and gave us the permission to do it.
So off it went.
So off it went. And there is some good news. There is some good news. I've got another water. Which I'm open to. I can't say where it is. I mean, some people know where it is, but I mean, I've managed to secure another water. Which
do you just go to people where you know there's water and you just say, "Are you interested in leasing to this?" On
Google Maps. I mean, there's
that was the good old day. Well, before Google Maps, you get the Ordnance Survey maps out and just go, "Oh, there's some water over here." Yeah. My dad used to have to drive me around all over the place.
We're in a difficult. I think we're in a good time for angling associations and for clubs that have got the backbone of quite a healthy membership, because it almost feels to me like the commercial day ticket fisheries have sort of they've sort of gone bust a little bit, haven't they? You had the commercial day ticket fisheries, and then of course they filled them up with cabins and stuff like that. But the bottoms fell out of that market now. One or two of these they're going bust, and and they're not making a living in that type of stuff. And of course, the people that were running them were farmers and stuff like that. And they're getting old and they're getting tired, and they don't want to do it.
Not cheap either. I looked at some out of interest, and you could go to Spain for the same sort of money.
Yeah.
It was crazy, man.
To do a week exclusive.
Yeah, with these little cabins are like lovely. I mean, for stunted carp, you were paying proper going abroad money, and it was cheaper.
I used to go up to Cherry Lakes in the Cotswolds.
Right.
Do a lake exclusive booking. You get lovely lodge. I mean, like a proper 2-bedroom Scandinavian cabin sort of thing. Big carp in there. £1,400 a week.
Yeah. I thought so. What I decided to do, because I mean, obviously, I was aware that the loss of cure impacted people. So I thought people were saying on the committee there was quite a lot of naysaying at the time, saying, "Oh, there aren't no waters around. You ain't going to get any waters." So I decided that I would go on a bit of a mission. Bloody wire on my foot.
It's a trap.
What for Danny later? Has he got his big pot of Vaseline?
Fuck off.
So I just decided to take it on as a bit of a personal challenge, So I just got on the phone. I mean, as you know, I can talk to people, but I have no problem with that. I get on generally well with most people.
Just start reaching out to people.
And I just
ask.
That's what I did. Just go on Google and have a little look, and if it was, I might drive up past it, for instance, and see if it is a commercial fishery or something like that. And if there's nothing going on in it, it's looked like it's a bit neglected and stuff like that. I then do a land registry search, find out who's on it, and ring up. I did that quite a lot of the times and got and had some success. There's been two that I've got to negotiation stages, and they've fallen through for one thing or another. But I've got another one now, which is a 3-pond complex. We have small water. It's not a carp water per se, but it will make a lovely little mixed fishery water, and I'm sure the members are going to be absolutely delighted when that comes online.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, we're hoping to have all the legalities of that sorted out. They promised us that fairly soon, and then maybe spend next year prepping it and getting it ready before we open it to the members.
Well, that's a positive, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm always doing that healthy membership. You can support you doing that. There was always a thought that the club was going to buy and acquire its own waters. It's not going to do that. Land's just ridiculous nowadays. You're never ever going to acquire land. And in all fairness, I mean, the trouble is with acquiring land is you actually end up with a liability. We're a non-for-profit. We don't really want to. We don't want to own tranches of land. Somebody's going to have to deal with that. And if you have a problem on it, it becomes a real shithole. So better off to just enter into agreements with people that have lost interest in it. They get a little
lease, get a decent sized lease, get a right to renew, and off you go.
And the lease I'm looking at now is 25 years. So can't argue
Yeah, it's
with
a
that.
good way to do it. When Digger Lakes came up for sale, I actually pitched an offer in on it, which was substantially under what he was up for. I think it was up for. I think he wanted 170. I offered him 120 for it, and I was sat there staring at it. And even then, like the realization of what I'd just done dawned on me.
Yeah.
And I watched what Ben had to deal with that fishery. People leaving gates open, rubbish in the hedge. Then I thought, well, hang on a second. I'm going to end up closing this and just having it for me and my mates. And I've just spent 120 grand. Then New Barn came up for sale, just up on the Totnes Road. I learned to fish on New Barn. The bottom lake drains down in the summer. People say it's got a leak. It's not. It's the way that the water flows down. It was dam for cows. It used to be like just the bottom of a field. And it was water for the cows.
Yeah.
Then the farmer, the old boy Alan, put a dam in the bottom of it. And in the winter and through the autumn and through like the spring when there's plenty of water coming down from the other ponds, it stays nice and high. Soon as that water, and then I was the only thing that interested me in it was it's got some apartments up there. So I'll do some Airbnbs. I'll shut all the fishery. Me and my mates can fish it, and then I've got all this land to maintain. Yeah. And it was up for I think it went for the best part of $1 million. Thought I'll sell the house. We'll move up there. I'll take on a bit of a mortgage. But it's what goes on in the background. He had two full-time staff maintaining that place.
That is the thing that you suddenly realise when you're acquiring ponds, and it's really a lifestyle. It becomes your full time job. Like I mean,
and I didn't want that.
No,
I just wanted to go down and go. Oh, this is nice. I'm going to put the rods out.
Yeah.
I'd have just left the rods out and had the alarm up in the house and just jumped on my quad bike every time it ripped off, legged it down the bottom, landed a fish.
So that's what the association there. That's the gap that the association feels like, because we've got memberships and in income and revenue and things like that. We can have those discussions with people that had this piece of water that they enjoyed when in their youth, looking they could manage it, but now they're 70 years old, 60 years old. They want it to be managed still, but they want somebody that cares for it and loves it just the same as they did. Like and they get that from an association. Like, of course, they don't make a vast amount of money, but more often than not, they're not really interested in that.
Yeah, a bit of money ticks them over.
Ticks them over.
Takes a load of pressure off of them,
and they know they know it's going to be looked after.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good way to do it. How long have we been running?
Hours.
2:28.
Oh, that's not a bad run, is it?
No, we've done all right. Non-stop.
Yeah, that's non-stop.
And have we covered everything?
I think we probably have covered everything. Yeah. I always like to end on positives with this, because there are too many negatives in fishing at times. So what does the future hold for your section of water, do you think?
I mean, look, I am positive about fishing. I have genuinely felt over the last couple of years with all the groups, it's a shame we couldn't unify all the groups, because there are lots of groups, Surfers Against Sewage are one lot, I mean, it's a shame we couldn't unify, because I mean, what a force you'd have when you if you could unify everybody and send the same sort of message. We got the march coming up in November. I think the Angling Trust running that one. The march to London about the
I did see something about that. Yeah,
about the water. All these things are positive. But we still have to hold people to account, and I don't know quite how we do that. But I am positive that there is movement about it. There is movement, and that people genuinely are considering our waterways and the aquatic environment slightly differently than they have done for 20 years previously. So I am positive that a change is afoot. I think it's going to be a very slow change.
Nothing happens quickly, does it?
Nothing happens.
Nothing good happens quickly anyway.
And that's where you can almost plug the club a little bit here. You can join places like Exeter District Angling Association. Aaron, could you just quickly pop that up on the screen? Exeter and District, please.
Thank you. You like manners here.
What a prick.
And we're always looking for people to join. Well, it's not a closed club, like at the end of the day, we want people with energy and who want to get involved, and help out. There's no.
I'm the worst for that. I hold my hands up all day long. Down at Racks, they're always asking for people for work parties. I just wanted to go fishing.
Yeah,
it's a hard one, isn't it? When you're trying to balance your time.
So obviously you can join a club like this, and obviously as Mark's explained now, obviously it's part of Clubmate, so it's on your phone. But
you got an app.
Yeah. So you can go on now and
ticket 24 hours a day.
Your ticket money does go.
Guesting it's Sanford then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
But you've got that now, and that is a resource, and that Mark's explained to just a couple reasons here as to what what your 60, 70 quid goes to each year, the running of these clubs, the people the volunteers that help maintain.
These were the works that went on down Sanford on the weekend that the guy bought a crate of beer for the volunteers for, like, you know.
Is that gravel? Was that
Yeah,
wood chip?
yeah, it's gravel.
Are those little notches in the wood for the rods?
No, I think it's just shadows.
No, on the fronts.
It might be, yeah. I mean, I have no idea. I
They
didn't
look
follow.
like these to
Yeah,
me.
maybe. It may be. Yeah.
They're carp in there.
No, well,
Well, there
yeah.
are some small carp in there.
That was made by the EA as a juniors pond to teach juniors to fish. They're two small ponds specifically made for bringing fishing into the community. So great little. But yeah,
Find an old picture of me.
but at the end of the day, this is when you enter a club. This is the sort of thing that your money's going to. You know, it's not all just going to a little pot and a Christmas party. There are lots of things that go behind the scenes, and
I mean, we get
quid is cheap, isn't it?
we get called.
It's going up to.
It's going to go up to 70 quid for the full membership and 35 for the seniors.
My one down on, I've got one for Bude Canal.
Yeah,
To get one because it's done on like your postcode.
yeah.
So there's only X amount of them that come out, and I managed to get my hands on one, and I'm never going to let that go.
No.
I try to fish it as often as I can. I think it costs me 45 quid a year. Yeah, I'm never letting that ticket go.
And people got to just understand. Yeah, I mean, some of the comments that sort of really frustrate me is, you know, nobody wants to help. Nobody wants to get involved. The minute a committee makes a decision, you get somebody come on social media and say, "Oh, fucking Gestapo's at it again." Like, you just think,
Have you never thought about doing 2 membership tiers? One for the do work parties and then one that don't want to do work parties?
well, what happens with work? You know, there are some.
Because I'd pay 4 times as much if I didn't have to do work parties.
Yeah, I mean, it's the coordinate. What we found is that it's the coordination of it. You get people just say they're going to turn up in a work party, so you get it all working. You get everything in place, like, and you get 15 people say they're going to turn up, and then only one turns up, and you're fucked. Yeah, absolutely.
you got to manage that. You've got to admin that on a.
So you have to admin that on a large scale, on that sort of platform, like, you know, and it would just be very. I don't think the benefit would be there, like, on, you know, on that type of stuff. I totally get it. Like, I mean, the people that put themselves out at work parties and that. I mean, they, more often than not, they get free tickets and things like that anyway. Like, you know, I mean, that's just, you know, we try and help people as best we can, like, you know, but. But charging people for, you know, I think what you do, if we say, for instance, just say we decided, let's put the ticket up to 100 quid, but 30 quid if you attend 2 work parties. I think what would happen is that they'd all jump on and say, I'll have the 30 quid version. They wouldn't turn up to work parties, and you just
how do you enforce that? Manage that? Yeah.
So that would be that would be the problem with that. Like, and I think overwhelmingly now, actually. And I don't think I think it's a reflection of the times that we're in. People seem to be more busy. Life, although we've got technology in our life, into what some intents and purposes that was supposed to have made our life easier. I don't necessarily think it has. I think because we're engaged in lots of other
maybe easier,
ways.
but it's made us busier. Yeah,
And it's made people busier. So people don't necessarily want to afford that time, like, you know. I mean, I love it. I mean, you know, in all fairness, I mean, you're getting the gang together on a work party, like, I mean, it's much bigger than the work. It's much bigger than a work party. You have a bit of a crack and a bit of a laugh, like, you know, and you get a bit of work done as well. Like, I mean,
I think that's what you nailed it one, and it's a good ending point. Is there that there's friendship here, and as anglers, you've already touched on it. You've made friends from right across the place through fishing. Being part of a club and a membership, whether you're a member or whether you're a committee, there are friendships there. There are bonds that you build, and it opens up to other doors. And I think that's a great thing for people.
My biggest personal conflict with my being part of the association is, and it has been from that personal side of things. You know, when I came to the committee, I made a promise to the committee, and unfortunately sometimes that sets me at odds with some of the people that I've been friends with over the years, like, you know. But they got to understand that, you know, in order for me to do my role, and the same for all the other committee members, we sign up to the Constitution, the way the club's run. It's been run for 100 years. It gets changed a little bit and tweaked. The rules get changed a little bit, but you have to abide by that. if maybe that you didn't abide to that before. I mean, I'd be a prime example of that, really. I mean, at the end of the day, so you get yourself to the situation where 20 years ago, you'd have probably acted just the same as some of the people that I did. I mean, I did with the very first time. I can honestly say, hand on heart, that my whole opinion of how these things, I just did not realise just how hard people behind the scenes were growing, whether it was right or whether it was wrong. It's fucking immaterial. You got people that are out there, they're busting nut, genuinely feeling that what they're doing is the right thing for your association. They're not getting any help. They're not getting any guidance. None of the members are coming forward and offering good solutions and good suggestions. All they're offering is a load of diatribe and a lot of shit as to why you shouldn't do something or why you should break the rule.
And they're volunteering. They're doing it around their other jobs and family commitments. And I think enough praise isn't given to the select few that do step up, and I think that's.
I was just saying to Danny. I mean, I'm probably going to be stepping down toward, not stepping down. I'm not going to walk away and leave the club, because I've been instrumental in some of the changes that they've done, and I don't want to do that. But I am going to be stepping back, probably at the next AGM. But that's purely because I'm getting to a stage where actually finding it harder, 4 o'clock in the morning. I get a 4 o'clock in the morning start, and I'll get out on my boat all day, and then come back and get back at fucking 7 o'clock and go straight to a committee meeting. I mean, it's brutal. Isn't it? I'm 57 years old. I've never missed a committee
down
meeting.
to 64.
I've never missed a day. I've never missed a day's committee meeting. I've never missed a day's work party, let alone all the other things that I do. On a day-to-day basis. I've been talking to the EA today and talking to people about that new pond, and I got meetings here, left, right, and centre, which I do, and I enjoy doing it. But it all takes its toll, So I mean, I just want to sort of hand that tenure over, and hopefully walk somebody else in. Sort of.
I'm sure they will fill those big boots well, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, thanks for coming in. We've known each other for a long time. I thought you'd make an interesting talk.
We're not going to know each other much longer if you keep wearing shit like that.
He's had it rough recently, isn't he?
But anyway, I mean, thanks for coming down.
Well, it's been interesting for me. I've never done anything like this before, man. I just hope that I've
definitely a face for radio, isn't it, Mark?
that people may find some interest in what I've said.
We've had some real positive feedback. It's amazed me how many people this podcast has reached.
Yeah.
I say it all the time, it's two idiots on a mic.
Yeah.
We just love fishing. I love hearing fishing stories. There's so many nuances within, not even within fishing disciplines, and then what, take into clubs, and there's just so much that goes on within fishing, and there's a story within all of it, and I want to hear all of it. I love asking questions, and I love hearing stories. So it's been amazing having you on. To be honest, I'm not even going to lie, didn't have a clue who you were. Danny was like,
nobody had a clue.
Well, he was like, Mark's coming on. Mark's coming on, and I was like, yeah, Sam, book him in. I was sat in the chair out there earlier on. Aaron walks in. He goes, "Oh, we got a podcast later. Have we?" What, really? He's like, yeah, we got a podcast. I had to go back onto WhatsApp. I was like, oh yeah, we have.
I'm actually very, very discreet. I mean, my social media presence is all my pages are, unless you're a friend of mine. It's
closed shop.
It's all closed shop. I just don't do any of that shit. At the end of the day,
I don't
post up. I don't even post. I catch some fish occasionally. At the end of the day, I don't even post them up. I don't even fucking weigh out the fish I catch these days. I can't
slip them
bother.
back.
Yeah,
see, I do no research on anybody that comes in.
That's a really good way.
I haven't done anything on anybody. He gets all jumpy about somebody's coming on. He loves lure fishing.
You don't have to.
He gets all jumpy about it, and I'm like, okay, sound. Who is it? And you give me a name, and I'm like, don't know who that is, but okay. And I'll just sit down and just like with you, let's have a conversation across the table. I don't want to have a preconceived idea of somebody, and I don't want to, if I don't know anything about them, I don't want to go and jump on their social medias and try to understand what they're about. I'd rather have the slow burn conversation and get it out.
I think that's what we've had, and we've had a conversation today. I mean, there's not been any agenda to it whatsoever. Like, you know,
Yeah, there's no structure, there's no agenda. There's just chat.
Just talk to them.
Yeah,
about
there's
lots
just
of
talk.
things. Hopefully, some people will be able to pull something out that's interesting for them. You know,
I had a comment from somebody the other day who was like, I'm not even into. I don't like series. I don't like podcasts. I don't like this. I don't like that. I'm going to read it to you, actually. I'm going to read it to you. I won't say who it was. They'll know who it was because hopefully they're listening to the next one. I'll tell you who it was after this. Loving the latest podcast. Suzuki don't want to build a charter cat with a flybridge, do they? I know a guy who'll drive one. And then it went, another one watched, fuck me, although he didn't say that, he just put FK. I've never gotten into a series, TV, podcast, films, etc., as I'm always outside, but this is awesome, loving the work. I put, thank you, mate, that's high praise indeed. It's just two idiots on a mic who love fishing. He put, it's just so easy to listen to. Presenters are not pretentious. Some of the questions I go, fuck, I've never thought of asking that. And it's like comfort food. It's certainly clearing my head after a shitty day at work.
Yeah, nice.
Job done.
Job done.
Yeah, like job done. Like there's lads, we've had some comments like, I've just listened to this while I'm tying rigs. Or, I don't know, one guy put, I was cleaning my boat, I was listening away to your podcast. Some guys that have turned up and they've listened to all of them, and I'm just like, no way. Like, you're like... some of these guys are what you would call like legit anglers, you know, they're out there in the social media space, it's all about their branding and all this sort of stuff, and they're like, I absolutely love this, like I've listened to all of them. I'm like,
and where can they go to catch them all up? YouTube channel, tunagear.co.uk, we've got a link on that, mate. RSS feed,
yeah, well, go to Tuna Gear just to buy spreader bars,
buy the spreader
stingers,
bars,
salter lures. We might have some other stuff turning up in a minute. Social media feeds, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify.
Make sure you
iTunes.
iTunes,
It'd be nice if you subscribed as well.
Like, follow, subscribe, give us a share, please give us a share. We want more people to experience it. Anyway, Mark,
Stop begging, you sound desperate.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
No, mate, I really appreciated you coming down. I've really enjoyed the chat. I've learned a whole bunch about Exeter angling and about, rivers. It's interesting stuff. You don't understand how much work goes on in the background. I appreciate your time and appreciate you coming down.
If you ever want to come down to Trews, come and just give us a shout. We'll set you up.
Well, he's invited me. He said I've got a lifetime ticket. He said I could come down whenever I want. So, guys, thank you for listening. Danny, sort your trousers out and we'll see you on the next one.
see you again. Cheers, bye.